Hello, reader. This is Brittany Wang, the author of the audiobook you're about to listen to, which will be read for you by the very talented Talon David. Before the audiobook begins, please note that this story, Sea of Secrets, is part 3 or episode 3 of a 6-book YA fantasy miniseries. If you missed part 1 and 2, you can access all 6 audiobook videos through the playlist linked in the description below. I hope you enjoy this story so much.
Sea of Secrets, The Nymph Challenge. On Wings of Ash and Dust, Episode 3, by Brittany Wang. Narrated by Talon David. Chapter 1. This is not how I pictured returning to the sea. On one hand, I can't help but smile as I approach a ship whose flapping sails are pulled taut to catch the wind, prepared and ready for adventure. The comforting calls of gulls pass over the dock, and I breathe in deeply. A breeze blows through my hair, and the smell of sea salt in my nose intoxicates me, reviving my bones. It's as if I've been holding my breath the entire time I've been away. On the other hand, this is not the minnow or my crew. This vessel is crawling with nymphs, bound for Isinglass. And after a full morning of travel from Eldor, riding back down the Vineway, pushing through the streets of Shree, and taking one more terrifying ride on the Kobe Express, the jangle of chains around my wrists reminds me how not free I am. "It's only a precaution," the Queen assured me before we left the Sky City, as her guards clapped metal bracelets on my wrists. The Queen is no fool. Me being an outlaw provides the perfect excuse for her to protect her investment. Though I've made no effort to hide my great displeasure, I don't blame her. Our verbal deal doesn't guarantee that I won't try to escape. At least it's not a wing restraint, I try to comfort myself. Crowds around the harbor gather as we board the ship. The Queen steps on first with her attendants. They carry heavy trunks and bird cages with her precious feathered pets squawking inside. Following her, we proceed up a plank in the order of our rank from the Trial of Knowledge. Vale walks on first, flicking a long red braid over her shoulder, with Hickory close behind, his nose already in his sketchbook. Alys pulls at her gloves as she strides on next, eyeing the crowd warily. Aeron waves to them warmly, even though he trails behind and fourth, flexing his fin-like wings with unhindered anticipation. And finally, in last place, is me. The memory of being rejected from the Gwyllian guards stings like a reopened wound as I follow them. At least my father left Eldor before the ranking ceremony took place, so I didn't have to face his disappointed scowl. Not that I've had a hard time imagining it all on my own. I shake my head. Vale is still on track to win the crown, and as far as the deal for my freedom with the Queen is concerned, that should be all that matters. As we pass, some Fae wave and cheer on their representative, but many stare at us as if we're lambs sent to slaughter. News has spread fast about how dangerous the Ethodine's first trial was. If anyone envied us before, none of them do now. I step onto the deck's creaking floorboards, working to keep my posture poised, strong, and indifferent. But once aboard, my body grows tense, exhaustion creeping in. How I wish for a mask or a hat to disappear behind. I'm not the only one under close surveillance. Up until now, we've all been constantly surrounded by our respective clan entourages, which has made plotting a way to get the mysterious tome back from Hickory particularly difficult. The book that is somehow connected to my daggers, my nightmares, my brother. Hickory is perched on a barrel, scribbling in his sketchbook at the other end of the deck. As I watch him, the possibility that he'd be willing to simply give me the book or even share it with me nudges itself into my mind. But asking only creates the equal opportunity for him to say no. Or worse, he might ask why I want it. Then if I stole it, he'd know it was me who took it for sure. No, my chances are better if I just keep quiet and wait for the right time to nab it. The only problem is, his things are already packed away and heavily guarded in the belly of the ship. I sigh. As with everything I want lately, I'll have to be patient. Though that's very unlikely. I try to distract myself, I walk the deck, finding my sea legs again as I take in the wide open stretch of ocean, keeping watch for any other ships on the horizon. Maybe a pirate ship. If we were on the Minnow, my crew would be singing songs as they swabbed the deck, calling out bets on card games. But out here, the ocean is void of any other vessels, and, except for the creak of boards underfoot, this ship is quiet. Suddenly, I feel very alone. It's better to be alone, I tell myself. Then no one can betray you. No one can let you down. I lift my chin toward the sea. I don't need them or anyone else. In just a few short weeks, I'll take all of Phelan by storm with my new flying ship and crew. I'll be so unstoppable, Maverick will be begging me to come back. Picturing the pirate lord pleading before me tides me over for a while. But as the boring trip drags on, even visions of grandeur can't stop me from complaining. I don't see why I'm still locked up. I hold out my chains to a passing guard. It's not like I'm going to jump overboard. I wouldn't put it past her. Aeron speaks up from a few feet away. He leans over the side of the ship, his fin-like wings fluttering as if he himself will jump any second. She is a pirate, after all. The guard snorts and continues on. I know I told you to stop helping me, but you don't have to do the opposite either, I say glumly as I join him at the railing. Aeron's dimple appears. I'm sure the Queen will free you once we arrive. As I gaze out over the open ocean, I wonder if I'll ever be truly free again. Where exactly is this grand land of the Nymphs anyway? I ask, trying to think of something else. We've been on the sea for hours, and the horizon is still void of any structures. You Gwyllians have your weapons to protect Greymarrow, Aeron starts to explain. Kobolds live safely underground. The Sylphs have a giant vine between them and the rest of the world. When threats of clan war escalated, the Dryads obviously used some kind of magic to hide their central city. Perhaps we chose to do the same. It must be some serious magic, I say. After Isinglass disappeared, Pirate Lord Maverick always had us searching for it. But to no avail. Next to his constant obsession with pixie dust, the priceless treasures the Nymphs collect from the depths of the ocean were always next on his list. You'll see soon enough. Look there, Aeron shouts, like a little sprite whose wings have finally grown strong enough for flight. I peer over the rail. A series of fishtails kick up along the side of the ship, more appearing every second. That's a rather large school of dolphins. A blur of red appears at my side. Vale pushes loose strands of hair out of her face to get a better view. Hickory and Alys join us on her other side and peer down as well. Those are not just dolphins, I laugh. Beside the dolphins, nymphs in their fishtail form jump out of the water, some of them spinning in midair. Vale waves to a particularly attractive nymph with luminous green hair who's showing off for her. I yank her hand down. Don't encourage them, I whisper sharply, making sure Aeron can't hear. Most nymphs are like spurious roots, beautiful to look at, but should never be trusted. Vale turns away from me like a pouting sprite. She might be book-smart, but her real-life experience obviously doesn't extend far beyond Eldor and her academic studies. In fact, I wonder if she's ever been this far outside of Eldor before. Ahead, the sound of rushing water breaks beyond the bow of the ship. A bubbling geyser is spouting up from the middle of the ocean, growing larger every second. Come on, you're not going to want to miss this, Aeron calls over his shoulder as he rushes toward the front of the ship. Little by little, towers made of coral emerge, growing into a single structure 4 times as tall as our ship. Fountains of water pour off its glistening surface. The Palace of Isinglass in all its glory. Has it been hidden at the bottom of the sea all this time? The grand towers of coral loom over us while its large, colorfully tinted windows gleam in the sunlight. Hickory quickly ties his white hair into a low ponytail and yanks his sketchbook out from his satchel. He must want to capture its majestic form before we get too close. Now that's what I call a masterpiece, wouldn't you say, Kobe? Aeron elbows Hickory. Hickory's quill shifts out of place, earning Aeron a piercing glare. Though I agree that it's breathtaking, I shake my head. There is no way in Phelan you're getting me in there. Why's that? Hickory asks, still scribbling. That's why. I point below us. At first glance, the Nymph Palace appears to be floating on top of the ocean's surface, but its lower levels are still submerged underwater. Though I'm grateful to be back at sea, I have no intention of physically re-entering its waters anytime soon. Flashes of nearly drowning at the hands of Moonface and his rabble twist my insides. I hate how he's tainted my connection with my beloved sea. I scowl. Once we're in there, what keeps the castle from sinking back down and drowning us all inside? The nymphs may be able to breathe underwater, but we can't. The palace doesn't take in water, Aeron assures us. We have magical barriers that take care of that. Besides, if we wanted to kill you, we'd have much more imaginative ways of doing so. He pauses for effect, but then gives me a wink. I roll my eyes, though a lump forms in my throat. Aeron might be joking around, but as I peer down into the depths, I know I can't yet speak for his clan. Chapter 2. I'm still hesitant as I step off the ship onto the Nymph Palace's surrounding platform. Unlike the gentle rocking of a floating vessel, I'm surprised by how solid the ground feels. A troop of nymph guards in ice blue uniforms open the seaweed-covered doors. With harpoons in hand, they stand at attention, waiting for us to enter. Nodding to the guards, Aeron takes the lead. As we approach the threshold, I notice a glossy, transparent sheen that stretches across the doorway. I hesitate, and so do the others, but Aeron walks on. The sheen bends like a liquid and fluctuates around his body, elastically bouncing back to its original shape once he's through. Like an unbreakable bubble. Noticing he's alone, Aeron turns and waves us on. Alys is the first of us to stride forward. She puts out a gloved hand to the sheen's surface, presses on it slightly, and then steps through just as Aeron did. She turns to us and nods. She seems fine. If Alys can do it, so can I. I take a deep breath and follow. A cool, tingling sensation washes over me as I pass through. I shiver, but at least it's dry on the other side. Aeron meets me with a smile. I told you. Magical barrier, or as we call them, aqua gates. Though the entrance hall is thankfully void of water, it's completely submerged in song. Melodious laughter and the most beautiful music I've ever heard fills the air, lifting my spirits. A symphony rings out from an orchestra that lines either side of the hall, comprised of every instrument from lyres and harps to fiddles and flutes. As we cross the pale pink and orange floor made of polished coral, crowds of nymphs in elegant chitin tunics turn from their conversations with intrigued smiles. Well, well, look who decided to finally grace us with his presence again. A tall puck calls from ahead of us. I can't tell if his seaweed-colored hair is slicked back with water or grease, but it seems to glow brighter at the sight of us. I realize he's the same nymph who waved to Vale on the way here. The group he's with turns, and a gaggle of 3 pixies practically shriek with delight. Aeron! One shiny-haired blonde squeals. She rushes toward him and wraps her webbed fingers around his arm, completely ignoring the rest of us. I give the next pixie a wide berth as she latches herself to his other side. We're so glad you're back, she coos, batting her unnaturally long lashes at him. Have you seen Arista yet? She's going to die when she sees you, says the third. The other 2 deflate at the name. Maybe she's talking about his betrothed? I purse my lips, wondering how beautiful this Arista must be if these pixies were overlooked as Aeron's potential mate. Aeron sucks in a breath and produces a strained smile as the green-haired puck and 2 of his friends approach. Don't be rude, Aeron. Why don't you introduce us? Says the green-haired nymph, intrigue sparkling in his matching emerald eyes. I can already tell I don't like him one bit. Everyone, Aeron says, looking back at us. This is some of the lot I grew up with. These lovely pixies are the Callan sisters, and these two pucks are Tal and Wade, who faithfully followed Niall everywhere since we were sprites. He motions to the pucks flanking the one called Niall, who runs a hand through his slimy green hair with pride. Hey! Wade gives Aeron's shoulder a good-humored push. Harsh, but not untrue. Niall smirks, then turns to Vale. You must be the lovely sylph princess I've heard so much about. Niall steals a glance at Aeron as he takes Vale's hand. Aeron narrows his eyes, but Niall brushes his lips against Vale's knuckles. Her freckled cheeks blush a pale red, and noticing Aeron's expression, she seems to revel in the attention all the more. I'm Niall, son of Duke Seaton of the Royal Nymph Court. His voice is smoother than honey, but slyer than a sea serpent. He nods behind us. I turn to see an older nymph with matching green hair and billowing robes. Niall's father is speaking with the queen, along with a few others who must be part of the nymph court. I wonder what the queen would think if she saw Niall kissing Vale's hand. I turn to remind Vale of what I cautioned her about on the ship, but I find Niall eyeing me next. I step backward. And this is Lady Quintessa of Greymarrow, Aeron says formally. I'm surprised that his comment isn't matched with a pirate joke, but a warning tone instead. Ah, yes, the long-lost Gwyllian princess. Niall goes to take my hand next, but stops at the sight of my metal cuffs. He coughs out a laugh, lifting the chain between my irons with a finger. Quite the fashion statement you're sporting. Must be all the rage where you come from. The Callan sisters giggle and I pull my hands back, balling them into fists. Touch me again and you'll be sporting a black eye. I dare him with narrowed eyes. Aeron stifles a chuckle and Tal elbows Wade. She's got you there, Niall. Feisty one, isn't she? Wade adds. Ugh, a pirate through and through indeed. Niall sneers, sticking his nose in the air. Just as I expected. Not a lady at all. Right, Aeron? Aeron's dimple disappears as he looks from Niall to me, seemingly at a loss for words. Right? Niall steps closer to him with a provoking tone. Aeron, all your things have been brought to your room. A short nymph with familiar golden curls bounds up next to him. Thanks, Finn. Aeron nods, looking grateful for the interruption. Ah, yes, Finn. He was part of Aeron's crew that I'd met after Aeron rescued me from drowning. If I remember right, he's the naive map reader who suggested we travel straight through the woodlands during our travels to Eldor. Hey, Guppy. Niall puts a heavy hand on Finn's shoulder, making him slouch shorter than he already is. Wade and Tal chuckle. You know, I was hurt when I wasn't invited to your runaway party boat, Niall says to Aeron. But if you brought this guy along, it couldn't have been that much fun. Cut it out, Niall. Aeron warns protectively, but stands idly by as Niall ruffles Finn's hair. What? Niall laughs. I'm only having a bit of fun, right, Guppy? Sure. Finn doesn't look pleased, but he takes it. He bows to Aeron and then leaves. I narrow my eyes at Aeron. What's up with him? Finn is supposed to be his friend. He could have done more. What in Phelan does Niall have on him? But there's no time to find out as the orchestra's melody changes to a more triumphant blast. On the grand staircase ahead of us descends the Lord and Lady of the Nymphs. I remember seeing them at the first trial, though they looked far too young to be Aeron's parents. I guess that's to be expected. Obsessed with appearances, the nymphs are known for making use of every material and charm imaginable to keep up their youthful complexions. Welcome, all of you, to Isinglass, Lord Kaito calls out. His voice is just as jubilant and melodic as the music that fills the room. His wife, Lady Delphine, follows close behind as Kaito stretches his arms wide like a performing ringmaster, motioning to the beauty around him with his jeweled trident. As he makes his way down the stairs, his fin-like wings fan out behind him, and he points the trident toward the fountains on either side of the staircase. The cascading water spurts upward at the trident's movement, shooting 10 times higher and circling in the air, taking on a variety of shapes. A few of the lavishly dressed nymphs at either side of the stairway follow his lead, adding to his water display with the movement of their hands. Water manipulators. The nymphs around us cheer and applaud as I marvel at the use of such magical abilities being displayed so openly, at the way it's admired and encouraged rather than hated. I rub my own hands together as I watch, wondering what it must be like not to fear your own magic. As the nymph lord draws closer, he smiles broadly, reveling in the attention. Aeron clearly gets his sea-colored eyes from his father. They also share the same midnight blue hair, but I can only tell that from Kaito's shortly trimmed blue beard. It's etched with the same swirling nymph symbols that adorn the sides of Aeron's hair. The rest of Kaito's head is waxed clean, highlighted by a small golden hoop hanging from one ear and a line of sea diamonds climbing up the lobe of the other. Reaching the bottom of the stairs, Kaito's eyes focus hard on Aeron.
"My son,"
Lord Kaito says, his tone low. He wraps his long fingers around Aeron's shoulders, clasping tightly. Too tightly.
"I'm so glad you're home."
Kaito smiles broadly, but the gills on his neck pulse. His eyes narrow as if to say, "I'll deal with you later." Aeron swallows hard, but he forces a smile as well. I wonder if this is their first encounter since he left home. Or rather, ran away. Bristling at the thought of my own father's punishments, I wonder what Aeron's will be for ditching his own wedding. "We will have time to visit with Aeron later, my love," Lady Delphine cautions softly, her voice ringing like bells. She lays a gentle hand on Kaito's shoulder. Unlike Aeron or her husband, she's more slender in frame and smaller in stature, jet black hair cascading down her back. But as she tucks delicate strands behind her fin-shaped ears, I can see Aeron's thin oval eyes and gentleness in her gaze. Her beauty and grace are unmatched by anyone else in the room. She gives the rest of us a surprisingly warm smile, her eyes sparkling as brightly as the shimmering blue gown that clings to her body. "You all must be tired from your journey," she says. "Please follow us, and we'll show you where you'll be staying." Releasing his grip on Aeron, Lord Kaito ushers us forward, past the orchestra, toward the stairs that lead below. As we descend, the view out the colorfully tinted windows progressively changes from the gleaming sun over the mountains to the expanse of the underwater world. Instinctively, I suck in a breath. Below sea level, the city of coral structures appears, lit up by jellyfish lanterns and other glowing sea creatures. A group of nymphs swim by on the backs of their sea stags, curiously eyeing us. But I'm more focused on the glass in the window itself. More importantly, what would happen if it were to break? I lightly tap on its surface, bracing myself.
"No need to fear,"
comes the nymph lord's silky voice as he joins me by the window. As he surveys his realm, I try to ignore the hairs standing up on the back of my neck. I might have been the queen of the sea on the minnow, but down here I'm in his territory with no crew and nowhere to hide. I expect him to glare down at me for my many sins against his clan over the years, but instead he addresses the group.
"These windows are made of sea glass, thicker and stronger than even most Gwyllian metals. In fact, it looks like the enclosures you were all in during the first trial were made of the same glass."
His eyes focus hard on the queen, but she stares straight back at him, as if daring him to challenge her further. Though sea glass is a common nymph trading commodity, Kaito obviously doesn't approve of the sylphs using their prized material to nearly kill his only son and heir.
"Still, the show must go on."
His practiced smile returns.
"We nymphs have our own test we've prepared, One where you will have to use your beauty in more imaginative ways than ever before. I'm sure it will prove to be even more entertaining than the Sylph trial. At least, for us.
The Nymph Lord's wild eyes narrow in on me with a strange smile.
And for the viciously unforgiving judge you'll face.
Chapter 3. Vicious judge? What could he mean by that? As I mull over Lord Kaito's words, wondering who this mysterious judge could be, Lady Delphine and a handful of nymph guards lead us the rest of the way to our rooms. Right this way. Aeron's mother ushers us into a hall with a line of giant white orbs, so polished they look like pearls. Each has sea glass windows and an aquagate on one side. We will take one of our transports to travel to the guest pods. What? The blood drains from my face at the thought of being stuck in some kind of underwater bunker. Lady Delphine must notice because she adds, "Don't worry, you can return to the palace at any time using our tube bridges." She points to a system of transparent glass tubes that span from the palace to other structures beyond. But I thought you might want to get a closer look at the city on the way. 2 by 2, we're led into the transports with a water manipulator to guide us. Aeron follows me into mine, and I suck in a breath at the tight fit. Our shoulders brush against each other, which doesn't help my quickening pulse. Suddenly, the orbs lurch forward, exiting through an aquagate in the wall one by one, the ocean pressing in all around us as our guides steer us toward the nymph city below. Among normal citizens, the city is alive with performing fish trainers, musical entertainers, and water manipulators on every corner. While some of them keep their distance from us, swimming out of the way with looks of suspicion, others get way too close. A few nymph beauticians swim around our transport, fighting for my attention, pressing their beauty charms and colorful garments decorated with rare sea gems against my window. Another waves for us to enter her shop, which appears to be enclosed with aquagates as well. She offers me lower and lower prices as we pass.
Don't mind them,
Aeron says.
The shopkeepers have gotten even more pushy since clan tensions increased. Few of them feel safe enough to sell on the surface. You're probably the newest clientele they've had in a while. Fresh meat for hungry sharks.
Great, I say sarcastically, though I tuck the information away. Might be useful later. As we continue, I try to picture Mira and Zale swimming through these streets together before becoming pirates. I wonder if they ever miss it. Before I can stop myself, I'm picturing them on the minnow, too busy with whatever mission they're on now to think about the home they left behind. Could they be missing me at all? Once we reach the other end of the city, we approach what appears to be a giant glass dome. Passing through one of its aquagates, our transports enter the dome and land on a wooden dock attached to a small island. Thankfully, water doesn't fill the dome completely. Instead, it only fills the lower half with the island floating on top. I don't wait to be told to exit the transport, sucking in a deep breath in the open space as I step out onto the dock. Water flows below my feet again, right where it belongs. This is far from the underwater bunker I feared. I turn in a circle, marveling at everything around us. Our view of the palace, the city, and streams of colorful fish, whales, and other creatures swimming around the dome's perimeter. Even more awaits us on the island. With the others, I follow the dock that surrounds the land as we pass clusters of palm trees, cascading fountains, and bubbling hot springs. Finally, the dock leads to our accommodations, a series of rounded pod huts made of coral that arc in a horseshoe shape around the edge of a small bay.
How lavish!
Hickory speaks my thoughts out loud, his good eye bouncing around all the sights. I can tell that sketchbook of his won't be empty for very long. We aim to impress, says Lady Delphine. Please make use of any of the amenities on the grounds during your stay. Drawing nearer to the pods, we pass a few nymphs repairing one of the many fountains. Though I still don't love the thought of the dome being underwater, The gentle sound of rushing water soothes my anxious fears. One by one, we drop off the queen and then each heir to their pods. At the end, only Aeron and I remain, as my pod is last. Lady Delphine unlocks my door, and I go to reach for the handle, but the clink of my chain stops me. Blasted things. How long am I meant to stay like this? Oh, I nearly forgot. Aeron's mother pulls a key from her pocket. I believe this is for you. I'm still surprised by the warmth in her voice and the gentleness of her fingers as she unlocks my cuffs. Now, that's much better, isn't it? Yes, thank you. I rub my wrist gratefully. The Queen handed me the key for you earlier, but I nearly left with it. I'm getting so forgetful in my old age. I hold back a laugh. With not a wrinkle to spare, she looks more like she could be Aeron's older sister rather than his mother. Lady Delphine clasps her hands together, but then looks curiously at Aeron. Speaking of, your father mentioned I should meet him somewhere, but now I cannot for the life of me remember where.
I believe it was the throne room. He summoned me there as well.
Aeron gently touches her shoulder.
Are you sure you're all right, Mother? Maybe you should go lie down.
She pats his hand. You've been home less than an hour and look at you, already fussing over me. She turns back to me. I'll leave you to your room now. I'm sure you'll want to rest and refresh yourself before our party tomorrow. Party? I perk up. Oh, yes. Her eyes brighten. We've planned a splendid celebration to properly welcome you all to our province.
Mother throws the best parties in all of Isinglass,
Aeron says to me. Delphine's smile widens at the compliment. Oh, how I've missed you, my son. She gives Aeron's hand a squeeze. Now, don't be long. You know how much your father doesn't like you skipping out on things. She says it lightly, but I can hear a hint of seriousness, too, probably referencing the wedding again. Without another word, she turns to leave the way we came. Your mother seems nice, I say, though I get the sense there's something off about her.
She is.
Aeron smiles, but then it fades.
My father, not so much.
Can't argue with you there.
Hey, look at us actually agreeing on something.
He grins.
Here, let me get you settled in.
He reaches for my door and opens it for me. I hesitate. Aren't you supposed to meet your father?
He can wait a few minutes. Come on. I think you got the pod with the best view.
He's already inside, walking straight toward the curtains. I enter, but tentatively, making sure to leave the door open behind me. I don't want him, or anyone else who might see us, to get the wrong idea. As he pulls at the drapes, light filters through the floor-to-ceiling sea-glass window, brightening up the room. My trunks from Eldor have already been brought in, some of them sitting beside a luxurious circular canopy bed adorned with sheer drapes and a seashell headboard. The pile of plush pillows are already calling my name, but I scan the room for the case that I know holds my daggers. Thankfully, I spot it sitting atop a vanity decorated entirely with shells and starfish. As I turn back to the window, the view nearly steals my breath away. It might not be the wide-open ocean view I'm used to, but it's the next best thing. The sparkling saltwater that surrounds the island spreads out before me, small currents rippling up toward my window. Since my pod is at the end of the arched arrangement, the other pods can't obstruct my perfect view. I'll take it.
I told you, you have the best view,
Aeron says proudly, as if he had something to do with it. The glint in his eye tells me maybe he did. I try not to dwell on the possibility too long, glancing around the perimeter of the window until I find a latch to the right. I pull at it, and the window slides open like a door. I breathe in the salty air with a sigh.
Sorry about earlier, by the way,
Aeron says softly.
With Niall, I mean.
I turn to him, brows raised. You don't owe me anything. I shrug, though I find I don't mind the apology. What's with that puck anyway? And why in Phelan do you, Prince of the Nymphs, tolerate the likes of him? Aeron shakes his head.
If I don't, he'll report me to my father, and I already have him mad enough at me about the wedding.
What would he tell your father exactly? That you weren't bowing down to some jerk?
Oh, Niall would spin some story to get me in trouble, I'm sure.
Interesting. I thought you were supposed to be pals, I say.
I thought we were, at one time. When we were growing up, he used to seek my favor endlessly, reserving his venom for others like Finn. I think he's always been a bit jealous of me, perhaps hoping that being close to me and my family would gain him power someday. But ever since the Ethodine's dangerous nature was made known, he's gotten bolder, turning his venom on me as well. I guess he doesn't have much confidence that I'll survive. Now it seems Vale's favor is what he seeks.
I crinkle my nose, remembering Niall's lips on Vale's hand. It did seem that way. What do you think he wants with her? Aeron shrugs.
She's in the lead for the crown after placing first in the Sylph trial. If she wins, perhaps he figures she'll hold the power to dethrone me and choose another to rule the Nymphs. If he gets in her good graces, why not him?
Well, if it's possible, I like him even less now. I cross my arms. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that one.
I don't blame you.
Aeron sighs.
But while I'm here, until I secure my place as Nymph Lord, I must do what I can to make allies instead of enemies.
Not like my opinion matters, but I don't think you should have to change who you are for anyone, especially for someone like Niall. You should stand up for what you believe in. Be yourself.
Easy for you to say. You don't care what anybody thinks of you.
At first, his words sound like a jab, but when he turns to me, his eyes are soft.
I kind of admire that.
Heat rises in my face, but I force it down. Aeron looks as if he wants to say more, but must think better of it.
Anyway, I shouldn't keep my father waiting.
As I follow him out, I spot Hickory exiting the next pod over. He's got his dust pipe in his mouth and his satchel of art supplies slung over his shoulder, probably off to paint everything in sight. I steal a glance at his door. He must have the ancient book in there, but there are too many witnesses to try and break in now. I'll just have to track his comings and goings to figure out the best time to sneak in and find the tome.
I can't believe they're having us engage in a bloody beauty contest, I groan.
By the Queen's request, I had snuck past the nymph guards late at night and into Vale's room so she could help me prepare for the next part of the Ethodine, the trial of beauty. Vale sits at her vanity, which is covered in tiny pearls. It's piled with books, of course, but also brushes, powders, and the nymph oils she's currently using on her fair, freckled skin. As she applies a dab of one, it makes a few of her many freckles disappear. I collapse on the plush couch behind her. This is going to be a long night. Always so dramatic. Vale peers at my reflection before continuing to admire herself. It's not really a beauty contest. Lucky for you. Think of it more like a trial of talent. I huff. I don't want to be here. What I would rather do is figure out where Hickory is keeping the ancient tome. Maybe I can sneak into his room and search for it when he's out for a meal or something. Until then, I have to try to focus on this trial. I don't see how beauty or talent is necessary to rule a land. In nymph society it is, Vale assures me. They believe each fairy has been born with a particular gift that gives them power, bringing beauty and light to the world. Beauty and light? Between my sword fighting and flaming hands, my only skills seem to bring destruction. And what's your gift exactly? I ask. Talking everyone to death? Very funny. Vale shoots me an unamused stare through the mirror. Actually, I sing. Really? I ask with an arched brow. Singing and music are usually more of a nymph specialty. I might not have been trained in swordplay day after day like you, but my mother made sure I had a tutor in every other subject imaginable. She even paid the great Marceline to travel to Eldor and give me lessons when I reached youngling age. I sit up. Marceline is one of the prima donnas of operatic nymphs. I once saw her masterfully captivate an audience while my crew pickpocketed the crowd. I had nearly dropped my spoils at the breathtaking sound of her voice. This I've got to hear. I lean in. My intrigue must tempt her to show off. She puts down her brush, closes her eyes, and takes a deep, low breath. The sound that comes out doesn't match her at all. While her natural speaking voice has a high, whiny pitch, her singing timbre is round and full. I don't recognize the words. The language must be one of the ancient ones she loves studying so much. But the vowels are soft and lovely to the ear. She only sings a few phrases, but when she finishes, my mouth hangs open. Thankfully, I close it before she opens her eyes. Not bad. I put my hands behind my head and lean back. You're not afraid Aeron will choose to sing as well and show you up? Not that I've heard him sing, but being a nymph and all, he's bound to be very good. Vale tilts her head down, but I don't miss the small smile crossing her face. I have it on good authority that he will not be singing. The memory of Vale pulling Aeron into the shadows of Eldor's gardens returns to my mind. My stomach twists. Is that his authority? I ask nonchalantly as I play with the seashell tassels of a pillow, telling myself that my interest is more about gathering intel than jealousy. A slight blush joins the freckles on her cheeks. Perhaps. Vale's eyes narrow in on my reflection as she pulls a coral comb through her hair. I furrow my brow. With Niall's interest in her, it could very well be him who told her instead. Two can play at this game. Because if it wasn't, I could find out for you, you know. Aeron likes to talk to me for some reason. Can't seem to leave me alone, actually. Vale's blush vanishes. No. She grits a smile, pulling her brush through her hair with more force. I'm supposed to be helping you and your talentless soul. Helping? I laugh. You mean like your nodding potion? You almost got me killed. Hey. She spins in her chair, no hint of a smile now. You're still alive, aren't you? My efforts got you further through that trial than you would have ever gotten on your own. I look away. But she's right. I hate when she's right. Seriously now, every creature has some measure of beauty, no matter how small it might be. Vale looks me over as if it's impossible to find a single speck of beauty anywhere on my person. I throw up my hands. I assure you, I have no such gift. Well, you'd best make one up fast, or you'll be disqualified, and you know we can't have that. She gives me a weighted glare, reminding me of my deal with her mother.
No, we certainly cannot, comes the Queen's voice.
Both Vale and I straighten as she enters the room and closes the door softly behind her.
You two are quite impossible, she scolds. If you argue much louder, you'll alert every sleeping fae in this dome of your little meeting.
Sorry, Mother. Vale stands, her tone and demeanor instantly changing. What are you doing here?
Vale, my dear.
The Queen places a hand on her daughter's cheek.
You know I have every confidence in you. However, since watching Quinn nearly get skewered during the last trial, she turns to me and I lower my eyes to the ground. I had the feeling she might be needing my help for this round.
At that, I perk up. Really, Mother, that's not necessary. We don't want to bother you. She shoots a glare at me. Knowing Quinn, we might be up all night trying to think of something.
Don't be silly, Vale.
The Queen cuts her off with a wave of her hand, still smiling at me.
I'm sure I'll be able to think of a talent our pirate friend would be perfect for.
She looks me up and down as she rolls up her draped sleeves.
I do my best work with impossible odds.
Chapter 4. If the trial of beauty wasn't enough to worry about, The next day, we're invited by Lord Kaito to a celebration, just as Lady Delphine promised. Kaito called it an underwater masquerade, which is to be held in our honor. But as I step down into the large circular banquet hall, I'm sure that's not his only motive. Honestly, it feels more like I'm inside a massive aquarium. Below the ocean surface, the walls are entirely made of sea glass. It gives view to the endless ocean world outside, creating the illusion that all the attendees are underwater. As I fight the fear of drowning clawing at my stomach, I focus on the fairy folk trailing along the dance floor instead. The rippling water plays off the glass walls. Sea diamond chandeliers cast colorful hues across the room as fae meld into the ocean scene. Water manipulators make a show of arcing cocktail drinks through the air into goblets. Dancers and showmen put on an evocative display, enacting the band's sultry song. To complete the scene, each fairy present wears an elegant mask that represents a different creature of the sea, their attire complementing their choice. The Callan sisters are already taking turns dancing with Wade and Tal. The girls resemble sea stags in their matching azure dresses, masks, and coral antlers. Wade wears turtle shells on the shoulders of his tile-patterned suit, while Tal appears to be a clownfish with orange and white stripes. Whatever their part in the night's festivities, every nymph displays their talent and beauty with elegance and grace. My hands tighten their hold on my skirt. How in Phelan am I supposed to compete with any of this? When asked by the nymph servants what creature I would like to emulate, I'd first asked to become a swordfish. But when my request for an actual sword was rejected, I decided to go with something a bit flashier. 8 long trails of gathered lace weave around the skirt of my blood-red gown as I make my way through the sea of fae, the tentacles of my octopus persona. With a matching red and white spotted mask to cover most of my face, at least I'm back in my element. I'm a shadow in the night, blending in with the masses, walking around unnoticed through the room with my head held high. I love that my face is hidden again. My pirating habits kick in, and I keep my eye out for anyone not paying attention to their farthing coin purses. If only my dress had true tentacles to aid me. In the maze of masks and music, it isn't long before I spot my fellow competitors. As if her distinct fire-red hair isn't enough of a giveaway, Vale wears a brightly colored mask and strategically low-cut orange dress. The bottom fans out to reveal 5 pointed ends as she dances through the interchanging steps, passing from one available puck to another. Of course, the Sylph Princess would want to be the star of all fish. As she twirls into her next partner's arms, I realize it's Niall. Even though he's sharply dressed in a bright red suit and mask that reminds me of a lobster, it's hard to miss his bright green hair. Vale breaks into a smile, but this time I catch Queen Gwendolyn's tall figure on the outskirts of the dance floor, watching Vale with an eye of caution. Though she still wears her crown and royal purple robe, her semi-transparent top ends in a skirt made from hundreds of fluorescent strings. Her luminous dress makes her an elegant yet powerful crystal jellyfish, gliding across the floor as she nods to each guest, still keeping an eye on Vale. It isn't until I reach the tables of delectable seafood hors d'oeuvres that I spot Alys. The only pixie in the room not taking the opportunity to dress provocatively, she's covered from head to toe in a black seaweed fabric, emulating what I assume to be an eel by the way it shines. Her black braids are in a tight updo, and she's cross-armed, scrutinizing those on the dance floor as if she might electrify anyone who even thinks about asking her to dance. I get the impression that the masquerade doesn't amuse her. What she hasn't seemed to notice is that through the glass wall behind her, actual fish of all shapes and sizes have gathered, hovering around her frame. Such a mystery, this one. Besides the question of her gloved hands still sitting unanswered in my mind, I admire her no-nonsense, quiet rebellion of the event, and find myself drawn to her. If only I could find a way to communicate. If I stick to simple yes or no questions, I might be able to get somewhere. I approach with caution, trying to appear busy choosing between a platter of crab cakes and a bowl of clams on the table nearby. It isn't hard to do. After a night of failed attempts at identifying a talent I can use for the upcoming trial, and a morning of servants dressing me for the masquerade, I'm starving. Doesn't this whole party seem silly, in light of everything? I toss a crab cake into my mouth and hold out the platter to her as a peace offering. Alys wrinkles her nose and looks away. Not much of a seafood fan? I ask.
Alys isn't much of a meat fan in general.
Hickory appears on my other side.
She's a vegetarian.
Really? My brows shoot up, not only at Hickory's words, but at what he's wearing. He's decked out in a shimmering silver suit and pointed hat with an eye patch over his blind eye. And what sea beast are you supposed to be? Even Alys peers over at him, her head tilting slightly. Hickory opens his mouth to answer, but a voice interjects from the dance floor.
Sorry to disappoint you, mate,
Niall says, approaching with Vale on his arm.
But I don't think a pirate is technically a creature of the sea.
Though we can't speak for Quinn, of course. Vale eyes me. I shoot her a look.
I'm a deep-sea squid, thank you very much.
Hickory gives Niall a cold stare I've only ever seen him give Aeron. He points to his good eye.
One eye at the front.
He turns around.
A smaller eye on the back.
A decorative symbol that emulates an eye is stitched into the back of his jacket, while 10 tails trail off the hem of his coat.
2 eyes for 2 different purposes. But as a fairy of the sea, I'm sure you knew all that.
Vale puts a hand over her mouth to cover a smile, and I catch Alys stifling a smirk as well. Niall's lips twist.
Ah, of course,
he says tightly. It seems Hickory is one of the few that can get under Niall's skin. Good for him. Hickory stands a little taller.
Besides, this getup gives me a reason to carry this around.
He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a vial of black liquid that sparkles, probably tainted with pixie dust.
Ink, anyone?
Ha! Vale laughs and claps her hands. Very clever. Niall gives her a look, but Hickory smiles victoriously.
Thank you.
He beams at her and places the vial back in his pocket.
Look out, thirsty pucks coming through.
Wade and Tal push past us to get to the Sea Breeze cocktail bowl on the other side. Alys glares at their backs, and I'm more than happy to follow her lead. But Niall must think I'm eyeing the cocktail.
You and your dust-smoking friend better not get any ideas about spiking that bowl.
Yeah, Tal agrees with a mouthful of shrimp.
The last time we did that, the Nymph Lord beached us for nearly a month.
Niall looks like he's about to pummel Tal. I raise my brows. Beached? Vale sighs, ready to instruct me, as always. It's when a nymph is exiled to the land for any amount of time. It's quite embarrassing, and Niall rolls his eyes and puts a hand on hers to still her chatter.
I think she gets it.
A conch shell sounds, pulling our attention to the staircase entrance. The band halts, and the whole room of dancers stills. Aeron and a pixie I assume is his bride-to-be appear at the top of the staircase.
Presenting Sir Aeron and Lady Arista,
the announcer calls. The quaint way their names go together makes me want to gag. Still, I step forward, peering over the crowd for a better look. Despite Aeron running out on their wedding, his betrothed's smile stretches from ear to ear as they descend into the hall. He lied about the status of their relationship, but he hadn't lied about her beauty. Arista's long magenta hair trails down her curved figure. The pleats of her pale, form-fitting dress mimic the oyster shells she's meant to portray as a string of pearls drapes down her sweetheart neckline. It's hard to behold her true beauty, however, with the seashell mask she holds in front of her face. I hope against hope it hides an underwhelming visage. A long, crooked nose, perhaps. A unibrow. Anything, really. But as they descend, she lifts the mask to reveal a perfectly shaped nose, full red lips, long batting eyelashes, and a whole list of other desirable traits, none of which are underwhelming. A self-conscious twinge trickles up my neck. All eyes watch her as if mesmerized. All except Aeron. He's dressed in a blue-gray suit with fabric that stretches from his arms to his sides like wings, and a long tail at the back of his coat. He appears to be a sharply dressed stingray. But Aeron isn't matching Arista's smile. Peering through his mask, his eyes are glazed over, locked in a forward, uninterested gaze. Until they shift, finding me. His lips part as his eyes lower to my dress and back to my face. His dimple appears, and I struggle to fight the blush rising in my cheeks. But as they reach the bottom of the stairs, Arista leads him onto the dance floor as the band strikes up a new tune in their honor. As if broken out of a trance, the party resumes. Alys walks off, the fish outside still following her movements. Vale huffs in Aeron and Arista's direction, yanking Niall back onto the dance floor. Staring at Aeron dancing with his betrothed, I'm left alone with my thoughts. I straighten my skirt with a fierce tug. No one is going to get me down tonight, not even Aeron and his fiancée. I'm escort-free and chainless. With my lavish nymph dress and a mask to shield me, nothing can ruin my mood.
"Didn't I tell you that guy is bad news?"
Hickory said, stepping up to my side. I startle. He was so quiet, I'd forgotten he was there. You say that, but you've never told me why, I challenge. He avoids my gaze.
"Well, for one, look at the company he keeps."
He nods to Niall dancing with Vale. She giggles at something he said, and I catch a mischievous glint in Niall's eye. Though Hickory definitely has a point, I know there has to be more. I don't know, Hickory. You're starting to make me think you're jealous for my attention or something, I say half-jokingly. Hickory lets out a guttural laugh and snatches up a goblet from the table.
"No offense, Captain, but you're not really my type."
He takes a sip, turning toward the dance floor. Oh, really? I press with an intrigued smile, watching him survey the dancers. No, wait. His eye is following something. But there is someone, isn't there? Maybe they're in this very room? I look around playfully before returning to Hickory. His complexion turns even paler than usual.
"You don't know her, I assure you,"
he says, though the words come out a bit rattled. His good eye now darts around the room as if trying to avoid giving away who the mystery pixie is. Wow, relax, Kobe. I was just kidding, I say, and Hickory's color slowly returns. But truthfully, I'm not sure sticking around you is much better than Aeron.
"And why's that?"
Hickory goes to take another gulp from his goblet. Well, you do keep a lot of secrets. You won't tell me the whole truth about Aeron or who this mystery pixie is. I trail off, getting an idea. Or why you steal books away from the libraries of sylph princesses.
"What?"
Hickory nearly chokes on his drink, but composes himself.
"I'm not sure I know what you mean."
Ah, so he does intend to keep the tome a secret, even from me. What could he want it for? Whatever it is, it can't be as important as me decoding the nightmares about my brother.
"There you are,"
comes a low, agitated voice. I shudder and peer behind me where none other than my father stands. He wears a gray suit and mask with a string of sharp teeth looped around his neck. A lurking shark. How appropriate. I look back at Hickory. I'm not done with him yet. But I'm too late. Whether he saw the opportunity to avoid more talk about the book or my father's presence was enough to spook him, he's gone. I'll have to catch up with him later. Slapping on an obviously fake smile, I spin back around to my father. Ah, Your Grace. I give him an overly dramatic curtsy. I didn't realize that you'd already arrived in Isinglass, just when I was starting to have some fun. As expected, my father's face shows no sign of amusement.
"Fun,"
he scoffs, crossing his arms.
Maybe if you were focusing less on having fun and more on putting your energy into the last trial, you wouldn't be at the bottom.
My smile disappears. He doesn't care that I was almost stabbed to death by sea glass, or that I survived it. Only the crown matters to him. The crown I'm not even trying to win anymore. But I can't let him know that. I'm doing my best. I lower my voice as others pass by, eyeing us.
Well, obviously your best won't make you queen.
His tone remains rough as he observes me.
You're distracted. Why?
I hesitate. I can't let him know about my deal with the queen, and I definitely can't tell him about my dreams, especially who is haunting them. Perhaps my father has some knowledge of the symbol on our mother's daggers, but as I stare into his impatient glare, I shake my head. Even I think I sound crazy. I don't need Faden to confirm it.
Excuse me?
Aeron's voice interrupts. I'm surprised to see him without Arista. Even more so that his hand is held out to me.
I seem to have lost my dance partner. Mind filling in?
I weigh my options between bad and worse as I look from my father's scowl to Aeron's hand.
I don't think that's such a good idea.
My father begins. I'd love to, I answer emphatically before he can finish. With that, Aeron flings me onto the dance floor with a twirl. Though I haven't formally danced in years, Aeron guides me through the steps with a strong leading hand. After some stumbling on my part, we fall into a rhythm, and I look back at my fuming father. Saving me again? I ask with a touch of sarcasm, but also with gratitude this time.
Oh, were you in some sort of trouble? I hadn't noticed.
Aeron grins, his dimple making an appearance again.
If anything, you saved me. I can't very well be found dancing out here by myself.
He looks at our feet, then back into my eyes.
Thankfully, you seem to be getting the hang of it.
I smile smugly, but then catch sight of Aeron's bride-to-be. Arista is searching the crowd, the same plastered smile from earlier still draped across her face. Better than your fiancé, I assume? I nod toward the partner he could be dancing with. I think she's looking for you.
Ah, there she is.
Aeron laughs nervously as he moves us deeper into the crowd of dancers. He leans in close to whisper.
Honestly, I'd rather not be around her right now.
I try not to laugh at the fact that Aeron is hiding from a pixie. You know, if you wanted to get away from her, you could have asked Vale to dance. I watch for his reaction. Aeron's brow furrows.
Why would I do that?
Well, for starters, you're kind to her, though I can't imagine why. Plus, I've seen you two sneaking off together doing whatever it is you two do. I command my cheeks not to burn, nearly stepping on his foot as we spin. Aeron's confusion morphs back into his smirk.
You're very observant.
He pulls me closer, the band moving into the final part of their song.
I'm flattered you've paid so much attention to my dealings with other pixies.
I roll my eyes. How does he always manage to do that? Catching me off guard, twisting my words. Not this time. I couldn't care less about what you do or with whom you do it. I only started taking note after Vale told me you agreed not to sing for the trial of beauty. I half lie, looking for confirmation.
She told you I said that?
Aeron stumbles through the next step, but then narrows his brow.
Since when did you two become friends?
I wouldn't say friends, exactly. And don't change the subject. I have to be more careful. He can't know that she and I are helping each other. I lower my voice to a whisper. As I see it, it only makes sense for you not to sing anyway. We both know a certain other gift of yours would give you quite the advantage with the judge. Some may even call it cheating. Not like I haven't been doing my own fair share of the same thus far, but I need Vale to stay ahead in the competition if she is to be queen and I'm to receive my reward. Are you brave enough to not sing? Aeron peers around us to make sure no one's listening in.
What I want no longer matters. I haven't yet told Vale, but I'll be singing after all. My father insists.
I'm about to ask if his father knows about his silver tongue, but right now I'm more intent on making sure he doesn't use it during the trial. Still, you at least entertained Vale's request. To have done that, he must have some kind of loyalty to her. If I didn't know better, I'd think there was something more going on between you two. Aeron's grip around my waist tightens, and he lowers his voice.
Vale and I have a complicated past.
He chooses his words carefully as others dance around us.
She may like to think there's something more between us, but there isn't.
But there was, wasn't there? I whisper. He looks away. I knew it. I smile victoriously at the discovery, trying to ignore the twinge in my chest at the thought of them together.
Maybe there was, he concedes. But it's in the past, all right? It doesn't matter. Not anymore.
I blink up at him. His eyes are searching my face. There's an intensity behind them, as if he's trying to tell me something with just a stare. Because you're a nymph and she's a sylph? I ask. Without meaning to, I think of Wit and all the ridicule she received growing up for being a half-breed. Private affairs are one thing. Royals taking secret mistresses from different clans are scandals rumored to have happened from time to time. Most of them are kept quiet enough that they're never brought to light. But outright marriages between royal families of different clans are unheard of. Forbidden.
Well, yes,
Aeron starts.
but that's not what I meant.
And even if she was a nymph, you're about to be married to someone else. So... He blinks at me, lips parted.
Right.
His voice trails off, a sadness coming over him. And I realize that somewhere along the way, the conversation shifted. We've stopped talking about him and Vale and moved on to something else entirely. He's still looking at me, but I drop my gaze to my feet. Right. I breathe in agreement. And just like that, the song ends, and we part.
How poetic, the pirate and the merman.
Niall appears at our side, Vale no longer with him.
Your father wants to see you,
he says to Aeron before turning to me with an unsettling glint in his eye.
I can take this off your hands.
We weren't quite finished, Aeron begins, but Lord Kaito's voice cuts in next.
Niall, thank you for finding my son.
He says the last part in a low growl, his fingers tightly wound around his trident. Lady Delphine stands behind him, looking apologetic.
Your mother and I must speak to you. Alone.
Kaito looks down on me meaningfully, then at Niall. Niall bows and moves as if to guide me away, but I give him such a glare he turns on his heels without another word. Coward. Lord Kaito guides Aeron and his wife to the outer wall, and I back away to an hors d'oeuvres table, staying just close enough to overhear their whispers.
What were you thinking? Abandoning your fiancée to dance with that pirate, parading her in front of all of our guests to see. Believe me, father, it's nothing compared to what you did to Arista.
Aeron whispers back.
Ah, you're punishing me. Is that what this is?
Kaito shakes his head.
Honestly, Aeron, after the disappearing act you pulled, what else did you expect me to do? I told your wedding guests that the Queen commanded your immediate return to Eldor to start the competition, but Arista already knew the truth. After that pitiful note you left her with all your I don't love you talk, she needed a bit more convincing.
My brows knit together. Arista looked so happy earlier. Maybe too happy. Kaito leans in closer to Aeron, whispering sharply.
Now, I want you to act the part while you're home. The alliance with her family's beauty and gem trade will be a strong match. And when you return from the competition, you will marry her, or so help me.
Aeron turns to Lady Delphine.
Mother, please don't make me do this.
Kaito, she says. Do we really have to talk about this here?
Enough!
Kaito grips his trident tighter and leans toward his wife's ear.
My dear, tell your son he must listen to his father.
I hold back a gasp as I hear the watery effect of Kaito's voice. Lady Delphine's gaze grows blank and far off. When she speaks again, it's as if all the warmth I sensed from her the other day is sucked from her being. Aeron, you must listen to your father, she says flatly. That's where Aeron got his silver tongue. From his father. Of course.
Mother!
Aeron grabs her arms.
Don't let him do this to you. You're not yourself. Snap out of it. You don't have to listen to him.
A muscle in my jaw ticks. I can't just stand by and watch this happen. But what can I do? Suddenly, I hear giggles coming from a few tables away. The Callan sisters are laughing and drinking around a cocktail bowl with Wade and Niall. An idea hits, and my feet are moving before I can stop them. Commanding my legs to weaken, I stumble toward Lord Kaito and purposely bump into him. "Oh my, very sorry, Your Grace. I didn't see you there," I say, making sure to slur my words.
What's wrong with you?
Kaito pulls back from me as if I have the plague and straightens his robes. I lean on Aeron, putting all my weight on his shoulder. He eyes my unsteady legs.
Are you drunk?
Perhaps. I smile lazily, then look over to Niall and his gang. Now that you mention it, that cocktail tasted a bit strange. Kinda like pixie dust. I wag a finger in the air. I think I might have seen Niall pour something into the bowl. Kaito's eyes set ablaze on Niall, and he adjusts his grip on his trident.
Aeron, get your mother to her room. I will be there shortly.
I shift off Aeron as he takes his mother's arm. Her eyes are still glazed and barely blinking. My lazy smile shifts into a satisfied grin as Aeron and I watch Kaito march through the crowd straight toward Niall. As he catches the nymph lord barreling toward him, even his green hair seems to pale with fear. Though I'd love to watch Niall's humiliation, I don't want to linger too long, so I take the opportunity to quietly back away. If Aeron catches on to what I've done, I don't want to deal with the whole thank you bit that might be coming. But I only get a few paces before I'm blocked, forced to peer up at the Queen's tall frame. Your Majesty, I begin, startled, but she puts up a hand.
Well, aren't you quick on your feet, Captain? And quite convincing.
She nods back to Aeron, who's searching the crowd for where I've gone.
Though I guess I shouldn't be surprised with your many years as a pirate, hiding your true identity for so long.
I turn back to her, waiting for a threat to rat me out for what I've done. But instead, she considers me, a new light in her eyes.
I've been thinking more on what talent you could display for the trial of beauty, and now I believe you've given me the perfect idea.
Chapter 5. I'm not sure I approve of the Queen's idea for my talent. When she first explained it to me, I tried not to laugh. But at this point, it's not like I have many other options. Late that same night, we begin my trial preparations, along with a sparring session for Vale. It's still my responsibility to continue building her strength and keep the skills she learned in Eldor sharp. Are you sure I can't display my knife throwing or something? I offer one more alternative to the Queen's plan after directing Vale to start on 50 push-ups. 1, 2, 3. Vale starts her count from the floor. She's doing them too quickly. I place my foot on her back to add more weight. Hey! She shouts. I ignore her, turning back to the Queen. My aim with a knife got pretty good while I was a Gwyllian Guard recruit. Had the best aim in the entire pirate fleet, too. I can still see Maverick's look of pride when my daggers hit the bullseye every time. Eventually, I could even do it blindfolded. 8, 9, 10, Vale groans. The Queen doesn't look up from Vale's vanity, where she's recording something on a piece of parchment. The finch perched on her shoulder does, though, tilting its head at me. Sometimes her birds give me the creeps. "This is not grey marrow, my dear," the queen says, her feather quill flitting about as she writes. "And I don't think the nymphs would feel particularly fond of Captain Shade being permitted weapons in their crowded arena. Now, come." I sigh and obey, lifting my foot from Vale's back. Vale takes a moment to breathe, but I give her a warning look. "Have I mentioned how much I dislike you?" she huffs. 16, 17, 18. The queen folds the parchment and hands it to me along with a small pouch of farthings. "Here are some instructions on what I want you to practice, and a list of supplies to get at the market tomorrow. Go over everything on your own, and we'll review it together tomorrow night." I take a peek at the list written in Her Majesty's perfect swirling calligraphy. I glance back up at her, still not convinced. "Trust me." She gives my shoulder a gentle squeeze. I nod reluctantly. Do I really have a choice? Returning to my pod just before everyone rises for the day, I spend the next morning trying to catch up on sleep. But my nightmares won't leave me alone. Phelan on fire, the sacred vine falling, Gaius thrusting our daggers into my hands. Even with his panicked gaze, when I see him alive and well in my dreams, it's almost a relief. But then I wake again in a cold sweat to the bitter reality that he's gone. At this rate, I'll never get any sleep. And if I'm too tired, I'll never be alert enough to stay alive during these ridiculous trials. I reach for one of the daggers I've stashed beneath the mattress. The symbol on the hilt stares back at me. I know it must mean something important, but I'll never figure it out without that tome. I've taken note of when Hickory leaves his room unattended, but some of the others are usually still milling about. I could sneak in when everyone gathers in the central palace for meals, but if he notices me missing right before the book is taken, he'll surely know it's me. Although, maybe I don't have to steal it exactly. Maybe just flipping through some of its pages will tell me something. And that just might work. So for now, I take a transport orb to the market to purchase the items on the Queen's list. "How much for this?" I ask, motioning to a black top hat and a display of caps and other head coverings. The nymph swings a webbed hand onto her hip, pearl bracelets clanging together on her wrist. "It's not your color, darling. What about this one?" She grabs a gem-covered sash that's obviously much pricier and lifts it to my body. "Very pretty," she encourages. I browse the other sashes, remembering they're also on the list, and point to a much simpler teal one, trying to ignore the fact that it reminds me of Aeron's eyes. "I'll take this and the hat. How much?" "For you?" She eyes the pouch at my side. 30 farthings. Rookie mistake not hiding my pouch. She must have a trained eye. 30 is all I have. But this isn't my first time haggling. 10, I say. 15, she shoots back. I sigh. I don't have time for this. 11, and that's my final offer. I can just as easily take my business somewhere else. The shop across the way looks much more accommodating. I start walking back toward the shop's aquagate where my transport awaits. Fine, fine, she hurries after me. 11 it is. I return right before dinner, passing Vale and Alys as they head out. Hickory is the last to leave. As he locks his door, I nod to the satchel slung around his shoulder. Going to paint after dinner? I ask. You know it. He picks up the blank canvas leaning up against his pod and pats his bag full of supplies. Enjoy, I say as he continues on. And take a good long while. Aren't you coming? He asks. I'll be right behind you. Just have to drop these off first. I hold up the sack in my hands. Once he's out of sight, I toss my things in my room and double back to Hickory's pod. Making sure the coast is clear one last time, I take a knee, pulling a pin from my hair and picking the lock. It gives easily before I slide through. making sure to lock the door again. For the most part, Hickory's room is laid out the same as mine, save for the canvases, paint supplies, and stack of books sprawled out on his bed. I rush to the books, picking up and shifting them one at a time, placing each one right back where I found them so Hickory doesn't suspect a thing. Come on, I know you're here. A few stray pieces of parchment sticking out of a sketchbook catch my eye. Gently, I pull them free. They're covered in ink, but not with Hickory's normal sketches. Hurriedly scribbled symbols are scrawled over the surface in various sizes, some crossed out with arrows and circles connecting others. My stomach twists. These look like the scribblings of a crazed fae. What's Hickory gotten himself into now? I rotate the parchment in my hand, but I can't make wings or tails of what it means. I wouldn't be surprised if it's his own code to ward off snoops like me. But then I notice something I do recognize. In one of the page's corners, circled 5 times, is the symbol from the tome's cover. I knew that symbol meant something. I've just started looking through the books again when I hear a key slide into the door's lock. Hickory can't be back already. He must have forgotten something. Just my luck. Why does this keep happening to me? Ever since the botched funeral heist, none of my blasted plans seem to be working. I'm a crew of 1 with no lookout and no backup strategies. The doorknob jiggles. I've got to get out of here. Fast. I look to my only other exit, the curtain-covered window. Swiftly, I stuff the pages back into the sketchbook and dash behind the drapery. Stifling my heavy breathing, I nudge open his window and sneak out onto the dock, cool air coming off the bay behind me. Hickory's door opens just as I pull the pane closed, pressing my back against the pod wall just out of sight. Holding my breath, I hear him rustling around in the room. Soon the door creaks open and closes again, and I catch his figure walking back toward the transport orbs. I sigh in relief. He should definitely be gone now. Maybe I can sneak back in and try looking one more time. Quinn? A voice says behind me, and I jump. Chapter 6. A swimming figure approaches in the water, and the jellyfish lanterns illuminate Aeron's face. I relax a bit.
What are you doing?
He asks. His nymph tail swishes behind him as he leans his wet blue arms on the landing, looking up at me with interest. How much did he see? Nothing, I say quickly. Just out for a stroll. Needed some fresh air.
So you decided to hang around Hickory's window?
He raises a brow. I figured I'd check everyone's window locks as I go. I take hold of the window latch again and feign a jiggle of it. Good. Nice and tight. Can't be too careful.
How thoughtful of you.
He arches a brow. That's just the kind of pixie I am. I smile broadly, though I know it's not very convincing. If I try to leave too quickly, he'll know I was up to something. Honestly, after all the excitement at the masquerade last night, I didn't feel like being around everyone at dinner. Thought I'd hang back here for a bit of peace and quiet. I sit down at the edge of the dock and lift my skirt up just enough to dip my legs in the water. I bristle at the cold temperature. I'm guessing you had the same idea?
Sort of, he says.
After a long time away from the sea, I've been trying to reconnect as much as possible. It's one of the only places I truly feel like myself, you know?
I gaze over the water and into the sea pressing up against the dome around us. More than you know.
Well, then you should come in,
Aeron exclaims playfully, making me regret my transparency.
It's one thing to look at the ocean, it's another to be in it.
I think I've done enough swimming for a lifetime. I shake my head. Last time you had to pull me from its depths, remember?
And I'll be here to save you again, which I know you love so much.
He playfully flicks some water onto my dress. Hey, I exclaim, trying not to laugh. I think I'll pass.
Oh, come on, you've got to lighten up. Have a little fun.
He boldly grabs my hands, ready to pull me in with him.
You know you want to.
I pull back, my teeth clenched together in a warning smile. Don't you dare. My legs are already submerged. It would be so easy for him to pull me in. But surprisingly, he lets go of my hands and drifts backward.
Fine, but here's a parting gift so you know what you're missing.
In a flash, Aeron dives back into the bay. His tail smacks down on the water's surface, and I yelp as a frigid wave rushes over me, soaking me through. Aeron resurfaces with a wide smile. I sit there in shock, arms held away from my body as water drips off my hair, down my face and dress. My lip begins to quiver.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Aeron swims back.
Don't cry, I was just playing around.
But as he draws close enough, a smile breaks across my face. Ha! The only one that's going to be crying is you imp! I laugh and jump into the water after him. Aeron's look shifts from confusion to joy in a snap as he tries to swim away from me, but I grab his arm and drag him back. You're in so much trouble! I allow my signature cackle to ring through the air as I dunk him under the water. Aeron surfaces and lets out a ferocious laugh. He shakes his midnight blue hair, playfully whipping water droplets toward me. Grabbing me around the waist, he pulls me close.
Trouble, huh? I think I can take it.
I rest my hands on Aeron's shoulders as his tail swishes back and forth, keeping us afloat. Our laughter subsides, and I realize how close we are. His warm breath brushes against my skin. His teal eyes are so clear, little specks of green reflecting back at me. Slowly, his face inches closer to mine. I panic and turn my gaze back toward the pods. What am I doing? What if someone else comes back and sees us? Though dinner shouldn't be over yet, I'm still relieved to see no pod lamps flickering to life. All the windows are dark, the curtains closed tight. The only sounds are the periodic flutters of the caged birds in the queen's pod. I double-check Vale's window. If she sees us like this, she might literally kill me. I think maybe it's time we go, I say.
You can go, if you'd like,
he says, though his hold on me doesn't loosen.
I'm not quite ready.
I don't dare say it out loud, but neither am I. Aeron, I ask, why are you really out here all by yourself? You could go swimming any time. I'm sure Arista is expecting you in the dining hall. His eyes shift away.
Honestly, I needed to let off some steam.
Why? I prod. It looked like things were all patched up between you and your betrothed at the masquerade.
I'm sure it did.
He shakes his head, then pauses. I hold my breath, waiting for him to go on. Will he actually tell me the truth?
The thing is, when I skipped out on our wedding, Arista was furious. No one knows this, but she called off the marriage entirely, which, frankly, is what I'd hoped she'd do.
So, then she forgave you. I try to give him a way out. This is his business. If he doesn't want to confide in me, I'm not going to pull it out of him.
Not likely,
Aeron scoffs.
She doesn't even remember having a previous wedding date. Just the new one both our parents arranged for us after the Ethodine is over.
He leans in closer.
My father persuaded her otherwise.
Because he has a silver tongue too, I say matter-of-factly. Aeron's eyes search my face.
You don't look as surprised as I thought you'd be.
I purse my lips. I may have overheard him using his gift on your mother at the masquerade.
You heard it?
He asks, lifting a brow. Well, it's hard to miss the strange watery sound on your voice whenever you use it. It was the same with your father. Not hard to figure out.
I've never met anyone else who can hear it besides me.
He looks at me in awe.
You haven't said anything to anyone? If someone at court found out, the clan would lose trust in our family's rule. I might even lose my position in the Ethodine.
His grip on me tightens as if he fears I'm setting him up to do exactly that. I haven't said anything, and I don't plan to, I reassure him. I know I can be cutthroat, but I'm not a monster. Aeron relaxes.
I know. Thank you.
Really, that means a lot. Of course, I say. I'm just so sorry about your mother. She doesn't deserve that. I can't get the image of the light leaving her warm eyes out of my head.
No, she doesn't.
Aeron grows quiet. He looks beyond me, his focus hard and sharp. Has he always been this way? Your father, I mean?
Not when I was younger. Of course, I was more naive and compliant at the time.
He purses his lips.
I think deep down I always knew there was something wrong with our gift, but I so desperately craved his love and approval that I allowed him to train me in it. For a long time I used my gift on whoever he directed me to. But as I got older, the things he asked me to do became more questionable, and I started to refuse.
My skin crawls, imagining what Kaito could have demanded. Then another fear creeps into my mind. Did he ever use his silver tongue on you?
Oh, he's tried, several times. But it seems this type of magic doesn't work well on others with the same gift. When he couldn't control me, he settled on controlling my mother instead.
His eyes soften.
He knows I won't fight back if she's in danger.
And now he's resorted to manipulating Arista too. I shake my head, putting the pieces together. The whole situation makes me sick.
Exactly.
He breathes. Aeron may not love Arista, but his tone is laced with pity at the mention of the nymph pixie. Even I'm starting to pity her. Is there no way to undo your father's manipulation? Couldn't you just persuade her not to marry you? If Aeron has the gift too, surely two can play at this game. Aeron's brows furrow, and his mouth opens as if ready to respond sharply, but he stops. His jaw shifts, reconsidering his words.
I know I've joked around about what I can do.
He looks deeply into my eyes.
But I really do hate using it. I try not to unless I feel like it's absolutely necessary. Convincing Arista not to marry me still doesn't give her free will back, and messing with her mind even more can be dangerous.
His gaze drops to the water.
I'm fairly sure my father's manipulation of my mother is having long-term effects on her memory. He refuses to see it, but I swear she's growing more forgetful.
How awful, I say, remembering her lapses in memory the day of our arrival.
I fear I'm losing a little more of her all the time.
Aeron sniffs and blinks as if holding back tears. My heart twinges.
Besides, even if I tried to counteract my father's effect on Arista, he's had many more years to perfect his gift. Breaking his spell would take skill and time I don't have. And if I succeed in ruining his arrangement again, there's no telling what he might do.
For the first time, Aeron's cocky demeanor is fading, revealing someone I never would have expected. How can someone stand to feel this passionately and still be able to function as he does? Though I try to keep my walls up, Aeron's sincerity is bringing them all crashing down one by one. So you're going to go through with it? You're going to marry her? The words catch in my throat.
Believe me, I've been trying to find a way out. He expects me to keep controlling Arista when we're wed, but that's not the kind of marriage I want. My father may prefer to force others to love and respect him, but I refuse to live that way anymore. If I'm to marry whoever she is, I don't want to have to make her love me.
He looks into my eyes.
I want someone to choose to love me back. Someone who accepts me for who I am. Someone like...
He trails off, staring at me. My pulse quickens. Don't say it. Aeron sighs and gives me a half-hearted smile.
Maybe that's not my destiny. I suppose none of us are really in control of our own fate.
His eyes search mine, perhaps simply for confirmation, but it feels like something more. Aeron, I begin softly, this time unable to look away.
Mm-hmm.
His eyes don't stray from mine. Why did you lie to me about your wedding that first night we met? Why not just tell me you ran away instead of making it sound like you were already married? Aeron looks down as his hand runs over the small of my back, sending shivers down my spine. He leans forward until we're sharing the same breath.
Though I didn't know who you really were at the time, I sensed there was something different about you. In a good way, I mean.
I swallow hard, thankful for the cool water as my body heats.
I guess I made it sound like I was married, so I had a reason not to do this.
Aeron moves toward me again. For a moment, I let go of all urges to turn away. But a shrill gasp sounds over the water. Aeron? Aeron halts right before his lips touch mine, and we jump apart. Two figures stand on the dock a few pods away. One of them is Arista. She has her hands over her mouth. No spell can make her unsee what she's just seen. Next to her, Niall has a comforting hand on her shoulder and a smug look on his face. Blast! I float even farther away from Aeron, back toward the landing. If only I'd left earlier.
I tried to warn you, Arista,
Niall says.
Arista, don't listen to him!
Aeron is already swimming toward her.
It's not what it looks like!
But tears spill over her cheeks, and she turns to flee down the island and out of the dome.
Arista!
Aeron lifts himself out of the water to sit on the dock and hurriedly pulls his chitin over his head as his tail turns back into legs.
Good luck smooth-talking your way out of this one,
Niall snickers. Aeron turns on him and, with all his strength, punches Niall square in the face. I cough out a surprised laugh as Niall stumbles from the force and trips right into the pool. As I pull myself up onto the landing, I catch Niall's fishtail form swimming away from us. I knew he was a coward. Aeron looks at me from the dock. His mouth opens as if he wants to say something. But then he lets his wings loose and darts after Arista. Left alone in my soaked dress, I stare after him, wondering what he'll do now. I curse, realizing that I care. Suddenly, a lamplight flickers on in a nearby window. Before I can see whose window it is, I turn and slink through the shadows back to my own pod. I can only hope there weren't any other witnesses to our spectacle. Chapter 7. Here goes nothing. It's the day of the Trial of Beauty, and I'm back above water in the main palace, standing on the stage of a grand auditorium with the other heirs. It's a venue where only the best entertainers in Phelan perform. All of them nymph, of course. As with any normal theater, I expect to see a large curtain lining the back of the stage. But instead, it's entirely open, like a gigantic archway opening to a masterful view of the sea and the mountains in the distance. I feel like I'm back on the minnow. The breeze coming off the water tickles my nose and I smile, trying to relax. The last few days have gone my way, though. I've been too preoccupied with trial preparations to try breaking into Hickory's room again, and this is the first time I'm seeing Aeron since that night. Beside me, Aeron smiles out at the crowd like everything is fine. I want to ask him where he's been, what happened with Arista, but he's busy waving to the excited crowd, which is not only twice as big as the one in Eldor, but also twice as loud, the sound bouncing off the inner walls. I sigh. Focus, Quinn. While this talent show of sorts will be extremely humiliating, at least it won't be lethal. Like the trial before, the clan lords and ladies sit in a private balcony jutting out of the wall above. Alys's parents hold hands while Hickory's look around as if admiring the construction of the stadium. The Queen, however, is seated next to my father. Both of them sit upright with stoic faces, waiting for what's to come. From a side entrance, Lord Kaito and Lady Delphine enter with Arista and two nymphs, who I assume are her parents, trailing behind them. Arista's radiant smile is plastered back on her face as she waves to Aeron excitedly and blows him a kiss. He nods to her with a pursed smile. Though I shouldn't be surprised the spell has been re-administered, an ache knots in my chest.
I suppose none of us are really in control of our own fate,
Aeron had said. Based on my luck in life so far, I can't exactly argue with that.
Welcome, welcome, one and all.
Lord Kaito appears on the stage next to us, and the auditorium grows quiet.
Today we have quite a show prepared for all Fae, great and small.
He flashes his pearly white teeth, which gleam under the stage lights. Excitement buzzes through the room. The Nymph Lord seems to feed off the attention and his ability to command such a crowd. A born entertainer. I almost smile with admiration until I remember how easy it is for him to manipulate folk whenever it suits him.
For your enjoyment, each contestant will show off their beauty through their greatest talent on this very stage. Beauty is more than a delight to the eyes and grace to the soul, but a power any ruler must learn to wield. Today, each one must display all of this and more to prove themselves the victor of this second trial.
Lord Kaito pauses dramatically, a glint in his eye as he pans the crowd.
I can see you all begging the question, who is unbiased enough to rank our champions for this part of the competition? Well, let me introduce you to our judge.
With this, the Nymph Lord approaches the sea at the back of the stage. The five of us look at each other in curiosity as he lets out a whistling tune. My blood runs cold at the sound I've heard only a few times before while at sea. Aeron steps backward toward the crowd, knowing what it is too. The call of the Leviathan. "Back up!" I call to the others without thinking, following Aeron's lead. They look to us for more information, but I just shoot them a wide-eyed gaze. "Move!" An enormous creature breaks the water's surface. With a crash, it lands on the stage, its red scales gleaming in the sunlight and sharp teeth bared. With the head of a dragon and the body of a serpent, the Leviathan coils its tail under itself and lets out a threatening hiss as its red eyes scour the crowd. The other clans gasp and shriek, but the nymphs applaud, cheering on their titanic beast. I might have once been named the menace of the 5 provinces, but Pirate Lord Maverick always called this creature the demon of the Silver Sea. No ship has been known to escape its fury. But the Nymph Lord is not afraid. He walks to the Leviathan with his trident and an equally menacing smile. The creature dutifully lowers its head toward him. I hold my breath as Lord Kaito draws dangerously close enough to whisper into the sea serpent's ear. The sea serpent growls, but doesn't attack. My eyes grow wide. This thing might be a terror, but it's trained. Kaito's silver tongue must work on the Leviathan, too. It's like watching Alys with Toma. Only this dragon, however obedient, doesn't seem too happy to see the Nymph Lord or to obey his orders. I peer over at Alys. She doesn't look impressed in the least. In fact, her expression mirrors the Leviathan's, disgust smeared across her face. To her, it doesn't seem to matter how horrifying a creature might be.
The Leviathan is a magnificent and terrible beast.
Lord Kaito speaks to the crowd again.
But what most don't know is that it is also extremely intelligent. Much like Fae folk, it can be entranced and subdued by incredible beauty, evidenced when its scales change color. It may not be beautiful itself, but, as you will see, it's a great and vicious critic.
As he speaks, 3 nymphs surround the creature, softly chanting as they place the tips of their staffs on the ground, encircling the monster. Black squid ink drags along the stage, creating the outline of a ring around the Leviathan. It must be mixed with pixie dust, as the ink glows with whatever nymph spell they're casting.
Each champion will enter the magic ring being drawn, Lord Kaito continues. The ring will keep the Leviathan within its borders until the spell is broken, though fairies can enter and leave as they wish. We will know it's completely subdued when all the Leviathan's scales change from blood red to crystal blue. The competitors will be timed based on how fast they can accomplish this, stepping outside the ring to officially complete the challenge. If they leave the ring before this point, however, they will forfeit this trial.
He turns to the 5 of us.
Make it laugh or cry with joy. Make it lust after your gift or slumber at your tune. But be warned, this creature grows hungry when bored, so I wouldn't waste any time. The first to enter will be Vale of the Sylphs.
Vale's clan breaks out into cheers as the rest of us nervously take our seats in the front row. Vale is visibly shaking. Even with all her practicing, I'm sure she never thought this would be the judge she'd have to impress. She takes a tentative step toward the beast, but the Leviathan responds with a ferocious roar, and her red locks fling backward with the force of his breath. Now it's the Nymphs' turn to cheer, rooting on the Leviathan. I catch Kaito shooting a glare at the queen. He's obviously anxious to pay Her Majesty back for nearly impaling his son. The Leviathan calms and watches Vale carefully, as a beast might quietly stalk its prey, waiting to pounce. But Vale squares her shoulders, firms her features, and begins to sing as she steps into the ring. The notes come out much quieter than in practice. On the 5th line, her voice catches in her throat. The sea serpent swivels closer to her, circling with hungry eyes. Its tail snakes around her legs. Vale falters again. Stop looking it in the eyes. Just focus on the words. As if she somehow heard my thoughts, Vale closes her eyes, centering herself. Though the Leviathan has her wrapped around the waist, she takes a deeper breath this time and sings the words with more support, more confidence. Her voice rings clear and true. Just as Kaito described, one by one its scales are turning from red to blue, its eyes more entranced than ravenous. But there's still many more scales that need to turn, and she's already nearing the end of the song. Vale circles back to the first verse, her voice growing in urgency as if the song is a spell working its magic, her vibrato filling the hall. By the end of her second time through the song, the scales are almost all blue. Vale belts out a phrase, and the last note cracks. The Leviathan winces at the sound. It snaps its jaws and the crowd gasps. But Vale recovers with a final sweet phrase, soothing the Leviathan back into a lull. Its remaining scales turn to blue. She did it. The sylphs cheer. Fully subdued and satisfied, the Leviathan uncoils its body from around her and allows her to exit the ring unscathed. I exhale and give her a small nod as she returns to her seat. Though Vale isn't my favorite fairy, she fought hard for that one. Plus, in order to secure my eventual freedom, I kind of need her to stay alive.
Well done!
Kaito rises, his smile tight. I'm sure it's to mask the disappointment of Vale's survival.
But the show has just begun. The next to face the beast is our very own Sir Aeron.
The nymphs explode with cheers, but none are as loud as the Callan sisters and their gaggle of nymph pixies who are fawning over Aeron near the front. In addition to Arista, it seems he has an entire doting fan club. I roll my eyes as he humors them with a wave. He approaches the ring coolly, but my fingers squeeze the arms of my chair. The creature's eyes are trained on him already, licking its lips.
For his talent, Lord Kaito adds, Aeron has also chosen to sing to the beast.
Vale shoots me a panicked glance, but I avert my gaze. I guess he's going to go through with it after all. Considering the excitement sparkling in Kaito's eyes, Aeron will no doubt be able to control the beast with his silver tongue just as his father did. If so, he definitely has the greatest advantage of us all. Relaxing my grip on my chair, I find myself caught between relief that Aeron will survive and worry over how Vale will ever be able to compete with him now. But before Aeron enters the ring, he waves over a nymph attendant from the stage wings. It's Finn. He hands Aeron a violin and a bow, giving him a nod of encouragement. Aeron faces the crowd, his eyes focused on his very unhappy father in the front row.
Sorry to disappoint, but my father was ill-informed.
Aeron announces. The nymphs moan, but Vale lets out a relieved breath.
Today I will be playing for the beast instead.
Aeron lifts up the instrument, and the nymphs cheer just as emphatically as before. Then his eyes lock with mine. He nods. He's really doing it. My heart races. He's standing up to his father in front of the entire clan. He's not going to use his gift. I actually got through to him. Warmth rushes through me at the thought. The Leviathan roars in impatience, and my skirt wrinkles in my fists as another thought hits me. Wait. He's not going to use his gift, even against this beast. And it's all my fault. I look to Aeron's parents. Lady Delphine clasps her hands tightly in her lap, her eyes wide with concern, while Kaito's face turns an angry shade of red behind his beard. Arista's spell must be a heavy one, because her smile hasn't even faltered, as if caught in a daze. I try to catch Aeron's gaze again, hoping I'm not too late. Whatever I said, forget it. It's too risky. If you've ever had a reason to use your gift, this would be the time. But he's already stepped into the ring. Aeron doesn't waste a second as he touches the bow to the strings and begins pulling it side to side across them with a fury. The tune is faster and more lighthearted than I expected, and somehow familiar. The Leviathan arches its spine, seemingly startled by the loud, upbeat tune. It circles Aeron, giving him a wide berth at first, but some of its scales are already turning blue. Aeron speeds up the tune, bouncing from one foot to the other as he plays. Some nymphs around us begin to clap along, and I realize where I've heard the tune before. It's the same dancing jig from the first night on Aeron's boat. Watching him perform now, it's the first time he's looked as happy and carefree as he did that night. The Leviathan's scales turn faster, and I listen closely to the violin's sound. It isn't accompanied by a watery effect like Aeron's silver tongue. No, he's simply playing, showing off his raw skill, his pure talent and beauty. And it's working. Then a string snaps. The clapping stops and Aeron freezes, staring at his instrument and then to the Leviathan. The beast has grown blue from his feet to his neck, but scales are starting to change back to red with every passing second of quiet. The Leviathan slithers forward and growls as if Aeron stopped on purpose, warning him to begin again. A soft chuckle sounds behind me. I glance back to see Niall with Wade and Tal, smiling smugly. He couldn't have something to do with this, could he? Would he have stooped so low as to sabotage the instrument? Aeron's eyes shift to the 3 strings remaining and takes his player stance again. Only this time, the tune is completely different. With slow movements of the bow, the violin sings as sweetly as any nymph voice I've ever heard. The notes lull and swell into a sorrowful tune that pulls at my heart. The enchanting melody entrances the room into stillness. I nearly forget that the Leviathan is still on the stage. Since Aeron began the new melody, the creature hasn't moved. It still doesn't look as if it's under any kind of spell. It looks at peace, its chest lifting and falling in even measure. As blue scales climb up its neck, the beast's eyes are soft and glassy. Could that be a tear trickling down its face? Snap, snap. The breaking of 2 more strings resonates through the quiet auditorium, and the Leviathan's head jerks, snarling at a second interruption. It licks its lips again. Perhaps it's wondering if Aeron tastes as delicious as he sounds. I swallow hard. Aeron breathes heavily, staring wide-eyed at the violin as the Leviathan slowly slithers toward him. He only has 1 string left. What's happening? My clenched fingers leave sweaty spots on my skirts. I look back at Niall again. He's leaning forward in his seat, no longer looking smug. Instead, his mouth hangs open. He looks as shocked as I feel, seemingly afraid for his childhood friend. I turn back. Aeron is staring at me as if I know what to do. I can only think of one thing. I nod hurriedly and mouth one word. Sing. Aeron looks to his parents, whose intense gazes seem to agree. Instead, Aeron takes a deep breath and touches the bow to the only remaining string. Slowly, he moves his fingers up and down the neck in a simple lullaby. His eyes are closed, totally focused on the music. His fingers know exactly where to land. Much like me and my weapons, he and his violin are one. Within seconds, not only are all of the Leviathan's scales crystal blue, but so are its eyes, drooping ever so slowly until its head lowers to the floor and it falls asleep. Opening an eye toward the creature, Aeron gradually brings the melody to a satisfying end. No one makes a sound as he steps out of the ring, faces the audience, and takes a bow. The room explodes in applause. Even Fae from the other clans can't help themselves, including me. At the sudden sound, the Leviathan springs awake, its scales instantly changing back to red as it lifts its ugly head in a monstrous roar, quieting our cheers. Lord Kaito stands up to address the crowd. Although he appears somewhat relieved, he makes no comment on Aeron's performance or his disobedience. He only announces the next competitor.
Alys of the Dryads!
Lord Kaito's voice bellows. Part of me breathes a sigh of relief, my hands landing on my knees, though my legs are bouncing. Not that I'm anxious to be in the ring with the sea beast, but this waiting, seeing one heir after another barely survive, I'd almost rather get it over with. I wouldn't be surprised if Kaito picked this order just to torture me. Alys rises from her seat. Before mounting the stage, however, she removes her cloak to reveal a dress. A long, simple garment. Of course, it's still black as usual, complete with her gloves. The sleeves are long enough to cover the rest of her arms, the skirt long enough to cover her legs. Still, I've never seen her wear a dress before. In contrast to her usual tough appearance, she looks dainty and elegant. As she climbs onto the stage, her bare feet peek out from the bottom of her skirt, and I wait in wonder to see what talent she's chosen. On the perimeter of the glowing ring, Alys stares long and hard at the creature. The Leviathan bares its teeth, daring her to enter. Slowly, Alys lifts her hands above her head, and with a pointed foot extended toward the ring, she steps in. There's no music to accompany her, no rhythm to follow, but her patterned movements through the space are smooth and graceful, hypnotizing. The Leviathan seems to agree as it watches her, moving its head along with her movements. She's dancing, right? I whisper as quietly as I can to Hickory, who sits next to me.
It's the moon rain dance,
he whispers back, though his gaze doesn't leave Alys's form.
Dryads believe certain physical motions have magical effects. This one is a traditional Dryad dance. They believe it calls forth the moon rain when the land needs it most.
Considering the length of the current drought, the dance obviously isn't helping. But no one can deny that it's captivating and is at least helping Alys subdue the beast. Alys's movements change and shift, bigger and more robust, bringing her closer and closer to the creature. So close that her hand gently lands on its nose. The Leviathan freezes, and Alys locks eyes with it once again, as if having some kind of silent exchange. Then, with one fluid, graceful motion, Alys flips herself onto the Leviathan's back. The creature darts toward the edge of the magic ring closest to the sea. The ring's no longer glowing. In their retreat, I glimpse a smudge of black ink on the underside of Alys's bare foot. Alys and the Leviathan are trying to escape. Chapter 8.
Stop them!
Lord Kaito shouts. Nymph guards from all directions race after them as the crowd goes into a frightened frenzy. I can't move, not believing my eyes. Alys doesn't care about winning the trial. She wants to set the creature free. Her dance might not have caused it to rain, but whatever magical movement she did weakened the circular prison's magic enough for her to break it. I've never admired anyone's fearlessness and determination so much. Alys and the Leviathan barely make it to the water's edge before the nymph guards throw ropes over the sea serpent's long body, holding it down. As the creature shrieks under the restraints, Alys jumps off the Leviathan's back to try to fend off the guards on her own. But it's no use. I nearly jump on the stage myself to help her, but more guards fly in to manage the crowd while others rush the stage. They grab Alys, holding her back while they wrangle the creature toward the ring, enchanting the border yet again.
"Restrain her!"
Lord Kaito demands as he works on calming the beast. The guards start to carry her out of the auditorium. Alys is kicking the whole way, a silent scream evident from her open mouth and enraged expression.
"No, wait."
Kaito holds up his hand for them to halt.
"She will watch until the end. Any ruler needs to learn that there are consequences to their actions."
Alys shoots Kaito one of her piercing glares. The room calms, but as I watch Alys get tied to a chair, my heart pounds. An unfamiliar sense of guilt rushes over me, wishing I'd done something. Anything. But what could I have done?
"Alys of the Dryad clan has broken the rules of the Trial of Beauty, and therefore has been disqualified from this round,"
Lord Kaito announces as the crowd settles back into their seats.
"Our next competitor to display their skill,"
Kaito looks at me,
"is Lady Quintessa of the Gwyllians."
My stomach plummets as I look at the beast. Smoke billows from its nostrils, still seething from the incident. My feet are heavy as steel as I step up to the stage. I don't feel any better as an attendant sets the chest of items I prepared just inside the ring. Before entering it, I look at the Queen, though I hope it appears to everyone else as if I'm looking at my father instead. When we discussed her talent idea for me, we assumed there would be a fairy judge. Now, standing in front of a giant sea dragon, especially one freshly enraged, I wish I'd fought for my knife-throwing idea all the more. There's no way this is going to work. But just as the Queen did with Vale during the Trial of Knowledge, she nods to me to proceed. Somehow, her vote of confidence pushes me forward into the ring. I rush to the chest, revealing a series of props I've collected. Nymph hats and wigs, masks and capes, everything I will need for a one-fairy show. As I pick up my first prop, the Leviathan is fully red again, an impatient growl emerging. "Ladies and gentle fae," I call, "I give you the tale of the Numa." In theory, it's simple. Take my skill of disguise and impersonation, then combine it with story to put on a show. It's something I hadn't even considered a talent until the Queen suggested it. Those in the crowd lean in. Even Lord Kaito looks intrigued. But will it be enough for the monster? Directing my attention to the red demon, I step into the ring and begin. "Of all of Phelan's fairy clans, sylph knowledge none shall meet," I say with dramatic flair, placing a crown of seaweed on my head. "The beauty of the nymphs unmatched, the craft of kobolds never sleeps." For each part of the tale, I grab new items from the chest as I recite the poem the Queen assigned to me. I switch up my voice and appearance to emulate the different characters I play. A glittering sash for the nymphs, a top hat for the kobold miners. Dryads nurture all of life, Gwyllian strength no one can beat. I lift coral branches to my temple as antlers for dryad changelings, then release my Gwyllian wings, slowly lifting into the air, casting a shadow over the stage. But darkness comes with no remorse. All shall crumble at her feet. Flipping in the air, my props clatter to the ground as I fly back to the chest. I grab pillows next and stuff them under my tunic, throwing a cape around my shoulders before slamming the coffer closed. I stand on top, lifting my hands into the air. In her shadow, giants form. Our world, the Numa, will obtain. Impersonating the giants, my voice reaches for the deepest tones I can muster, slowing my speech to an idiotic pace. They bellow loud, "We take your land. We bring you plague. We steal your rain." The crowd roars with laughter, but the monster doesn't know what to make of me. It circles as it did with Vale. He sniffs and hisses whenever I take on a new persona. Some of its scales turn blue, but it's still trying to make up its mind. Pressing forward with the story, I tell of the Numa's minions next. The dragons at their mercy rise. With shrieks and wings they take the skies. With fire, they all terrorize the clans the Numa spurn. I don't need a prop for this part. Leaping off the chest, I dart through the air with my own dragon wings and fly around the Leviathan, making sure I don't leave the perimeter of the circle. The Fae in the crowd cheer wildly, but to my dismay, the Leviathan doesn't like it one bit. As if I'm a fly buzzing around its head, the Leviathan chomps its teeth. I launch backward only to be swatted by the serpent's tail. It flings me to the ground. Retracting my wings just in time, pain shoots through my arm as it breaks my fall and collides with my chest. I cry out, and the crowd gasps. Holding my arm, I look up to the Queen, my father, even Aeron. But there's no way they can intervene. They can only watch as the creature slowly slithers closer to finish me off. I won't leave the ring, but I'm not going to be eaten today. I pull out everything from the chest with my good arm. I need something to distract the Leviathan, even for just a moment. No longer afraid, my body burns with the urgency not to die. Burning. Oh no. Before I can stop it, my hand sparks a tiny flame, igniting a piece of cloth in the chest. No, no, no! Smoke billows and the crowd murmurs. Frantically looking around, my eye lands on a long coral stick I'd planned to use as the sylphic scepter for the grand finale. Grabbing the burning cloth, I wrap it around the top of the stick just as the Leviathan's scaly tail wraps around my torso and lifts me into the air. I raise my makeshift scepter and thrust it into the Leviathan's face. At the sight of the fiery weapon, it pulls me away and nearly drops me. But one Sylph King, he lifts his eyes, and with his sylphic scepter cries. I yell at the creature, the Leviathan now a part of my act as I play the Sylph King. The Neverworld is where you'll die. Begone. Never return. Breathless, I wait along with the crowd as I hold the burning scepter. The Leviathan looks at the flame, then into my eyes. A flicker of revelation seems to pass over the creature's face as it blinks at me, as if it somehow knows the truth, that this fire has come from part of me. The monster's shell has peeled away. I can see its soul, and it can see mine, as if it too is not what it appears to be on the outside. Though I don't understand it, a connection is made. Is this how Alys feels with her creatures? As the Leviathan lowers me to the ground, I don't even hear the applause or notice that all the beast's scales have turned to blue. It follows me with its eyes as I step out of the ring, all the way back to my seat, its scales slowly returning to red.
That was masterful,
Hickory whispers next to me.
Where did you get the fire?
I had a match in the chest, I lie quickly. We Gwillians love our fire, you know, all part of the act.
Uh-huh.
Hickory raises a brow skeptically.
How resourceful of you.
Thanks. I try to smile back. He can wonder whatever he wants to for now. I'm just thankful it's over. I survived. I can finally relax. Beyond Hickory, Alys is staring at me from the chair she's restrained in. Her usually blank face also twists with curiosity. Can she tell what I felt with the creature?
Hickory of the Kobolds will close our show,
Kaito announces, the enthusiasm in his voice waning. He turns to Hickory.
Let's try to finish today without another reckless stunt, shall we?
Hickory nods, taking that as his cue to approach the stage. The crowd is still settling down as a few kobolds come out from the stage's wings with Hickory's easel and paints. Hickory doesn't look nervous. Why should he? He's the greatest painter in all of Phelan. As long as the creature isn't more blind than him, he'll enchant the Leviathan, no problem. I settle into my seat, trying to put aside my feelings about what just occurred, ready to sit back and finally watch Hickory finish a masterpiece from beginning to end. Entering the magic ring, Hickory coaxes the paints out of their containers with a wave of his hands. A playful smile draws across his face as the colors glide along the canvas with grace. The creature's slithering body draws closer to Hickory, and I join the crowd in a collective gasp. But the monster only watches the canvas, its scales already turning blue. Hickory doesn't seem to notice. He doesn't flinch. He stays fully focused on his work, and it soon becomes obvious that he is painting the landscape of Phelan from a bird's eye view. From the mountains to the sacred vine, the sea to the woods, the vibrant colors come alive, as though one could jump right into the painting and fall toward the land below. I stare at Hickory's back as he remains immersed in his process. It's eerie how focused he is, actually. Even as the Leviathan's scales fully turn to blue and his clan explodes with cheers, he doesn't stop painting. I lean forward in my seat. What is he doing? Hickory's movements grow faster and more hurried as he suddenly starts to paint over the bright colors. Shades of black and brown splash across the canvas, shadowing the once stunning scene in darkness. A murmur hums through the crowd at the change. The Leviathan, while still entranced, tilts its head. It inches away, startled, as Hickory's arms loosely flail over the canvas rather than purposefully directing the paints. Then Hickory's body starts to tremble. The crowd that was once mesmerized by the beauty of the painting grows loud with concern.
What's he painting?
A bold Puck calls out, and I slowly stand to try to make it out myself. A nymph attendant draws near him, then returns to the nymph lord.
I can only see the whites of his eyes, Your Grace,
she informs him.
I don't think he's in control of what he's painting.
What exactly is he painting?
Kaito asks, his voice more irritated than concerned.
Death.
Come again?
Death,
she repeats.
It's all of Phelan. In ruins.
Before I know what I'm doing, I jump onto the stage, not sure if I mean to make sure Hickory is okay or to get a closer look at the canvas. A guard grabs me before I can reach him, but as they pull me away, I see it. In the painting, the sacred vine has crashed to the ground, and all of Phelan is covered in ash as if it has been on fire. Just like in my dream. Chapter 9. Though Hickory technically subdued the Leviathan, the nymph guards have to help him finish the trial by carrying him out of the ring, rushing him and his painting off the stage. They say it's to attend to his condition, but I have a feeling it's more to ensure no one gets a good look at the disturbing image he painted. I still can't believe Hickory painted my nightmare. How is that possible? That's it. I can't wait anymore. I need to talk to Hickory now more than ever. After overhearing he was brought to the infirmary, I rush straight there. It's located in a pod near the palace, so I have to dart through a glass-tubed bridge to get there. I ignore my heart pounding in the tight underwater space, focusing on the infirmary door ahead. I collide with someone who's obviously as desperate to get out of there as I am to get in. Alys? I say. She stops her retreat, holding a bandage to her arm. Scrapes on her face gather into a scowl, marring the delicate vine-like tattoos that frame her features. The nymph guards obviously weren't afraid to be rough with her. It's hard to tell what she's more angry about, me bumping into her already bruised body, being disqualified from the day's challenge, or failing to set the Leviathan free. Probably all of the above. Still, seeing her bravery during the trial, the way she connected with the Leviathan, I find myself stepping toward her. I try to think of what to say. Did you see Hickory in there? I ask. Alys nods swiftly and turns to go. I was quite impressed by your way with the sea creature. I call after her sincerely. She halts, and her eyes shift to me. Though she still wears a stoic glare, she doesn't turn away. I swallow hard and proceed. The escape attempt was spectacular. I'm just sorry it didn't work. Alys closes her eyes. I brace myself for a sour reaction, but she gives an appreciative nod. Our eyes meet. Her look reminds me of the Leviathans, intensely holding me captive before releasing me from its clutches. Do you know what happened to it? I press a bit further. After the trial? Alys shakes her head with a defeated shrug. She aimlessly looks into the sea beyond the glass walls that surround us, perhaps hoping to catch a glimpse of the beast swimming by. I hope they set it free, I say quietly. No one deserves to be trapped, made to perform on command. Alys lets out a breath. Her hands motion to the two of us and the space around us. Her eyes survey the fishbowl-like tunnel before returning to me with brows raised. Right, I smile, understanding. Including us. Alys nods triumphantly, then folds her arms. I'm pressing my luck with the beast tamer, but she isn't pushing me away yet. Making sure no one is coming, I quiet my voice, chancing another question. If you don't mind me asking, I've noticed you have some kind of connection with different creatures, even one as fierce as the Leviathan. How do you do it? I mean, I fumble to think of a way I can ask in the form of a yes or no question. It seems Alys catches my drift. She cocks her head, and the slightest hint of a smile creeps up the corners of her mouth as if to say, "Wouldn't you like to know?" Then she turns and marches down the bridge away from me. Please, if I can only speak to him for a minute, I beg the nymph medic. She won't let me pass as she stands between me and Hickory's open door. Many apologies, Lady Quintessa, but you'll have to come back another time. Sir Hickory is finally sleeping, and he needs his rest.
Let her in.
Hickory's groggy voice calls from inside the room. I eye the medic. Asleep, huh? She sniffs in annoyance and begrudgingly shifts to the side. I step in and close the door behind me.
Quinn?
Though he's the one who called me in, Hickory still sounds as surprised to see me as I am by his condition. Considering his recent episode, he looks fairly normal. He's sitting in an infirmary bed with no sign that he was convulsing or mindlessly painting the end of the world just an hour ago.
What are you doing here?
I stumble, realizing I haven't thought through exactly what I want to say. Tentatively, I step up to his bedside. I came to see if you were all right. His brows lift, and I add, What in Phelan happened to you? Hickory pauses.
I don't know. One minute I'm painting, and the next I'm waking up here. I thought I blacked out, but when I saw the painting, it all came back. Everything on that canvas, I first saw in my mind. It felt like a dream, as if I was living inside it. I think it might have been a vision.
A vision? I ask. Shh. Hickory looks to the door, but the medic doesn't enter. I lower my voice. Have you had those before?
Not really. Nightmares, sure. But visions that I end up painting without even knowing it? Not that I remember. Either way, it can't be a good sign. The only thing I can think of is...
Hickory pulls his satchel from the nearby chair and tugs out a book from inside.
It might have something to do with this.
It's the ancient tome with the strange symbol. My eyes go wide. What, you carry that thing around with you everywhere you go? That's why I couldn't find it in his room. I try not to show how anxious I am to have it back.
I've been analyzing it day and night. A bit obsessively, really. You see, this here...
He points to the symbol on the cover, the one that once glowed at my touch.
This symbol is the ancient sign of the Pneuma.
The Pneuma? The gruesome depictions in Hickory's murals in Eldor come rushing back, and I shudder. The symbol on my mother's daggers is the sign of some mythical murderous giants? It doesn't make any sense.
There are rumors.
Hickory continues, tracing gentle fingers over the symbol.
That the mystics studied the Pneuma religiously, that they kept a record about them and their power. It was said to be lost long ago, but Quinn, I think this is it.
I draw back. The mystics studied the Pneuma? Great. One more reason to hate them and my similarity to their fire. Okay, so what does all that even mean?
I don't know, at least not yet.
Hickory's mouth purses.
But I have theories.
Of course you do. I smirk. Like what?
Well,
he hesitates.
I mean, the vision could have just been from a bad batch of pixie dust. Or maybe I'm just sleep-deprived from studying the book.
Hickory leans his head into his pillow, looking blankly at the ceiling as if whatever theory he's concocted is beyond even what he considers rational. In this moment, I know. I alone hold the power to confirm Hickory's insanity by dismissing his vision, or to further his paranoia with the story of my own mirroring nightmare. I don't know what conclusions he's come to, but he's already studied the book endlessly and knows plenty more about the Pneuma and the mystics than I do. Even if I succeed in somehow stealing the tome from him later, it would take me forever to figure it out myself. I need to know, and right now, Hickory is the next clue. Perhaps if I solve the mystery of my nightmares, Gaius will finally stop haunting me. I sigh. If you're thinking you're crazy, you're not. Hickory's gaze snaps up. I raise my hands. I mean, you're as crazy as they come, don't get me wrong. But with this, I bite my lip, feeling like I'll regret this later. I've been having nightmares almost every night for a while now, clear as day ever since my first night in Eldor. Your painting and my dreams, they're practically one and the same. Hickory nearly drops the book, his good eye focusing hard on me.
You're kidding!
It's my turn to shush him as a nymph medic stops outside the room and peers through the window and the door. I force a reassuring smile until she turns away. I wish I was, I say. Something strange happened when I touched that book. I don't know how to explain it. What do you think it all means?
Isn't it obvious?
Hickory insists, his eyes wild as revelations wash over him.
My vision, your dreams, the Pneuma, the mystic prophecies must be coming to pass.
Prophecies? I think back to the crazed dryad in Shri, and the chaos and destruction he foretold. Hadn't the same dryad mentioned a prophecy too, just before I chased the hooded figure who spoke into my mind? What exactly do these prophecies say? I ask, still lost. Hickory looks directly into my eyes. I fight the urge to back away as he recites the words with great intensity.
The vine will wither, the sky will fall. The Pneuma's tale, take heed, you must. A plague will mark the end of all. It comes on wings of ash and dust.
I blink. The vine's destruction I can identify from my dream, and we all know of the plague. But what of the rest? Is that it? What does it mean? Has the book given you any more clues?
That's been the problem.
He opens up the book. I peer at the foreign markings that litter the pages, which are the same symbols I saw strewn over the parchment in his room. Hickory looks up at me.
I can't read it.
Chapter 10. As Lord Kaito pounds his trident on the coral floor, the clanging bounces off the gleaming walls of the throne room, rattling my already troubled mind. Around me, the wave of murmuring quiets. Morning light spills through sea-glass windows, illuminating the anxious faces of clan leaders and those in the nymph court who press in from the outer walls.
Yesterday's trial of beauty was quite the spectacle, Lord Kaito begins. Before we send the heirs off to their next destination, we must award our competitors with their rankings.
I stand at attention with my fellow heirs before the throne, back straight, eyes steady. Inside, my thoughts are a million miles away. I peer over at Hickory. He seems fully recovered after a good night's sleep in the infirmary. I'd hoped talking with him about his visions, about the tome, would have brought some clarity about my nightmares, my daggers, anything. But it's only weighed down my weary mind with even more questions.
The entire tome is written in some ancient language or code,
Hickory had told me.
I've been working on deciphering it, but it's going to take some time.
I sigh. I didn't like the answer then, and I don't like it now. I clench my hands into fists, resisting the urge to tap my foot on the coral floor. Kaito's voice cuts through my thoughts.
In first place for the trial of beauty, having finished the challenge in the shortest amount of time, not that we had any doubt, is Sir Aeron of the Nymphs.
Aeron's mouth breaks into a genuine grin, and his clan celebrates with cheers and instruments blasting. As he approaches the dais to receive a first-place medallion, my mouth twitches into a smile before I can stop myself. Even with his damaged instrument, he earned the win fair and square. My smile steals away, however, as Arista breaks through the crowd. She jumps into Aeron's arms with a squeal, nearly knocking him over. I try to hide it, but I bet I look as happy as the Queen, who is quietly stewing on the sidelines. Her face may be void of emotion, but her knuckles are white, clasping at the amulet around her neck so tightly I fear one tug will break its chain in half. That can't be good. I take a breath and look away before she can catch me staring. It's okay. As long as Vale places second, she's still in the lead for the crown. Everything is still going according to plan. Freeing my mind of such worries, my thoughts drift back to the tome as Kaito lifts another medallion in the air.
And in a shockingly close second is Lady Quintessa of the Gwyllians.
My head jerks up. What?
Vale's red hair whips around as she turns her shocked glare on me. A lump forms in my throat. I think back to the trial. I hadn't exactly been tracking how long I'd been up against the Leviathan. I was a little busy trying to keep myself from becoming its dinner. The crowd doesn't seem to know how to react either. There's no music or cheers, only whispers. As I approach the dais to receive my medallion, I spot my father lurking in a far corner, half-shadowed by a tall nymph statue. Phaedon is as still as the stone figure next to him, but he gives a single stiff nod. Approval? Acceptance? Whatever the case, his thoughts are not what I should be worried about right now. After Kaito lowers the medallion over my head, I dare another glance at the Queen. She's not hiding her feelings now. Her glare bores into me, chilling me to the bone. No chance of my fire making another appearance under that look. I swallow hard, trying to communicate with my eyes. I didn't mean to, I swear. It doesn't seem to help. After Vale ranks third and Hickory in fourth, I'm swallowed up in the dispersing crowd. A passing sylph servant bumps into me, and something slips into my hand. It's a piece of parchment barely the size of my palm. Discreetly, I flip it over and read 4 words in the Queen's spiraling calligraphy. This time, there's a hard slant to each word. My pod, 1 hour.
Thanks so much for listening to Sea of Secrets, Episode 3 of my On Wings of Ash and Dust miniseries. You can listen to the rest of the series through the playlist linked in the description below. Additionally, while this story was first released as a miniseries, all 6 books were later combined to form the full-length novel, also titled On Wings of Ash and Dust, which is available now, and its sequel, On Wings of Crowns and Chaos, is coming April 10th, 2026, with the audiobook currently in production as well. At the time of publishing this video, I'm also hosting a fun book club style read-along for the entire On Wings of Ash and Dust story. If you'd like to join the read-along as you listen to these audiobook videos, simply sign up for email alerts in the description of this video, and I'll send you all the details. Of course, feel free to share any thoughts about Part 3, Sea of Secrets, in the comments too. I'd love to chat with you, and I hope you thoroughly enjoy the rest of the series linked below.